Chapter 212. From Gu Kuwu and Gu Qian's point of view, as long as Liang Xiao was in the middle, Shen Tianyin would not fully support Charlotte. Even if he wanted to, Liang Xiao would not let him. When Charlotte could not stand it and asked Shen Tianyin for help, Shen Tianyin would only look down on him. In addition, if the lawsuit between the two sides started and they hired the media to hype it up, it would be equivalent to free publicity for Yedong Sports' automatic surfboard. Once Charlotte lost the lawsuit, Yedong Sports could naturally get the patent of the automatic surfboard and produce it exclusively. How could Gu Qian and Gu Kuwu miss such a good opportunity? Seeing that Gu Qian was about to call someone over, Gu Ho finally couldn't help but say a word for Charlotte. "Miss Gu, what do you think? After the expo is over, you two can sit down and talk about it." "No way." Gu Qian did not give him any face. With the Gu family's power, it was normal for Gu Qian to not take a small mayor seriously. But even at this time, Charlotte and Liang Xiao still did not take the matter in front of them seriously. The two of them were talking about something unrelated. "You're not happy?" Liang Xiao looked a little guilty. She could see that Charlotte was indeed a little unhappy, and she also knew the reason why he was unhappy. Charlotte smiled. "It's okay. Why would I be angry with you?" Liang Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. She intimately held Charlotte's arm. "You're so nice." Gu Kuwu, who was ignored, sneered. "You two are really in love. I hope you can still be in such a good mood after half an hour." Charlotte smiled. "Do you know why I don't take you seriously? You want to sue me. What a coincidence. I also want to sue you for infringement." Gu Qian said angrily. "What nonsense are you talking about? We infringed on your rights? You've gone crazy thinking about money." Charlotte took the patent certificate from Liang Xiao, pointed to the date on the lower right corner, and said, "Open your eyes and see clearly. Our company applied for the patent in March this year." "What did you apply for it?" "July, right? You applied for a patent in July, and you want to sue me for a patent that I applied for in March? Are you sick?" Everyone had overlooked this small detail, the date when the patent was approved. Gu Qian and Gu Kuwu's gazes were focused on the patent certificate in Charlotte's hands. When they saw the date of signature on it, they felt as if they had eaten a fly at the same time. Would a patent that was filed in March infringe a patent that was filed in July? The former had already been born, but the latter was still somewhere. How could there be infringement for a matter like this, let alone hiring a professional lawyer to fight a lawsuit? Even a random cleaning Annie would be able to make the opposing lawyer speechless. How was this possible? Gu Qian said angrily. "March? Your Lima manufacturing company didn't exist in March. How could you have such a patent?" Charlotte said. "You can rob it, why can't I? I robbed it, can't I?" "You." Gu Qian suddenly became angry on the spot. Patents and products were actually two different things. Patents were a kind of intellectual property, and products were just derivatives of patents. Therefore, Charlotte's patent could be explained in many ways. It could be researched by him in high school, or it could be researched by others and then sold to Charlotte. But these were not important. The important thing was that with such a patent that was approved in March, Gu Qian and Gu Kuwu couldn't make a fuss about it, and they couldn't threaten Charlotte at all. "Did you see it clearly? If you saw it clearly, then get out." Charlotte said, "Don't make me unhappy, or I will sue you for infringement, so that you can't produce automatic surfboards." Gu Kuwu pointed at Charlotte, but he didn't say anything, and then turned to leave. Gu Qian looked at Charlotte and Liang Xiao with hatred and followed. The profits brought by small Yedong Sports and automatic surfboards were actually nothing for Gu Qian and Gu Kuwu. The brother and sister only cared about Charlotte. If they could make Charlotte suffer and make Charlotte disappear from this world, the brother and sister were willing to pay any price. However, the fact was that it was so troublesome to find trouble with Charlotte now. Looking at the backs of Gu Qian and Gu Kuwu, who left angrily, Liang Xiao said with a smile, "I was wondering why you set the patent approval time to March. It turns out that you had expected this to happen." Charlotte said with a smile, "It's impossible to fight with opponents like Gu Qian and Gu Kuwu without holding back." "Okay, that's all. Let's go to the booth." "Well, I think we will get a lot of orders today." Liang Xiao looked very happy. Sure enough, as Liang Xiao guessed. After Gu Qian and Gu Kewu left, many foreign businessmen came to inquire about automatic surfboards. Some businessmen personally tried the automatic surfboards of Lima Manufacturing Company and praised its performance. The idea of this automatic surfboard was indeed based on the automatic surfboard of Yedong Sports. Some of the designs were also copied, but Charlotte was best at mechanical production. He improved a lot on the basis of the automatic surfboard, which was equivalent to upgrading its performance. How could the automatic surfboard that he personally made be bad? Therefore, at least 6 out of 10 businessmen were interested, and at least 2 or 3 placed orders. Moreover, this was only the first day of the exhibition. In the future, orders would definitely come from all over the country, and even from abroad. The booth of Lima Manufacturing Company became the busiest booth in the whole exhibition hall, while the booth of Yedong Sports was deserted, with few people asking about it. This was also destined because automatic surfboards were used on land, and automatic surfboards could only be used in water. The market prospects of the two were not comparable at all. If Gu Qian saw this scene, she would regret it to death, because if she thought about it a little, she could change the automatic surfboard to an automatic surfboard that could be used on land, and then Charlotte would have nothing to do with it. But there was no medicine for regret in this world, and what had happened could not be reversed. There were many businessmen who came to inquire, and the staff of Lima Manufacturing Company were also very busy. Liang Xiao was also very busy. She was like an interpreter explaining the performance, prospects, and so on of the automatic surfboard to the businessmen. Xiao Lei, on the other hand, was greeting the merchants and discussing orders with them. Although he was also very busy, he was much more leisurely than Liang Xiao and the employees. After sending away a customer who had just placed an order, Charlotte also got a little time to relax. He walked to the side of the booth and called Shinta Tianyin. Tianyin, just now. Charlotte hesitated for a moment before saying, I apologize to you on behalf of Xiao. She is a straightforward person, and she says whatever she thinks. Don't take it to heart. Shinta Tianyin's voice came from the phone. Why are you apologizing to me? I'm not less tolerant than you. It's okay, I can understand. In my opinion, she is very magnanimous. If it were another woman, she would have quarreled with me on the spot. Women were extremely selfish when it came to love. What she said was very reasonable, because she was also a woman, and she understood Liang Xiao's feelings very well. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, It's good that you can think like this. I was afraid that you would be angry, so, haha, it's okay. I've solved the patent matter, and there will be no trouble. You don't have to worry about me. I know everything. You know everything? Shinta Tianyin smiled and said, We also have employees in the exhibition hall, and I have told them to report to me at any time about the situation on your side. You solved the problem with the date of the patent approval, so my people will definitely call me to tell me about it. I see. Charlotte's heart was filled with gratitude. Although Shinta Tianyin left because he didn't want to stay with Liang Xiao and was afraid that Liang Xiao would misunderstand and dislike him, her heart was still in the exhibition hall, paying attention to the development of the situation at any time, ready to help him. You're really cunning. I couldn't help but imagine Gu Qian and Gu Kewu's expressions at that time. I think it must have been very exciting, right? Shinta Tianyin said with a smile. Charlotte also smiled and said, It was indeed very exciting, as if I had eaten a fly. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. By the way, you should be free after the exhibition, right? Accompany me to see my father. You are the person who cured him, and he wants to see you. If possible, you can also see his current situation. If there is an illness, it should be treated as soon as possible, okay? Shinta Tianyin's tone was filled with a strong sense of expectation. Okay, once the exhibition is over, I will accompany you to see Uncle. Charlotte didn't think too much and agreed readily. Well, that's settled then. Goodbye. After saying goodbye, Shinta Tianyin didn't hang up the phone. Charlotte's voice was a little choked. Well, goodbye. Only then did Shinta Tianyin hang up the phone. Charlotte sighed softly in his heart and said secretly in his heart, She didn't think it was fake, did she? If I had known, I wouldn't have acted with her as a couple. But if I don't help her, who can help her? Some problems were forever unsolvable. In the past, Tianyin didn't even bother to look at him, and he could only fantasize about being together with her in his dreams. The two of them were in different worlds, like two parallel lines, never having a point of intersection. But now, she was willing to go to war with the Gu family for him. If it wasn't for Liang Xiao, he and she should be a match made in heaven. But now, he loved Liang Xiao, and Liang Xiao also loved him. Who could say clearly what was right and what was wrong? What was love and what was love in this matter? At this time, a group of blonde and blue-eyed foreign businessmen accompanied by Hu Ho came to the #1 exhibition hall. Charlotte's face revealed a trace of smile. This Mayor Hu Ho was really willing to help. Not only did he bring a lot of mainland businessmen, but he also brought foreign businessmen. If it's foreign businessmen, they will definitely like my automatic skateboard. If it can sell well in the European and American markets, that would be great. Sure enough, when Hu Ho saw Charlotte, he repeatedly waved to him, motioning him to come over. Charlotte greeted him with a smile, but before he reached the group of foreign businessmen, a beautiful face suddenly entered his line of sight. His feet suddenly seemed to be cut off, unable to move. The smile on his face also froze on his face. That expression was extremely strange. Chapter 213. The owner of this beautiful face was Anina. The story between Charlotte and her could be made into a spy movie. In that movie, he was a resourceful and tough agent, and she was the kind girl who was kept in the dark. She thought that they would have a romantic story, but this story only had a beginning and no ending. Lei, what are you doing? Come over and greet them. These are all businessmen from Germany. Hu Ho saw that Charlotte was stunned and didn't move, so he said anxiously. Charlotte was still stunned, as if his acupuncture points had been hit. At this moment, Anina suddenly shifted her gaze. Their eyes met, and the whole exhibition hall seemed to have been blown up, leaving only her and Charlotte. A bottle of water in her hand fell to the ground, but she didn't move. She stared at Charlotte, as if she was afraid that if she blinked, he would disappear in front of her. For Anina, Lucas was like a knight in a foreign land. He rushed into her life, saved her from danger, and conquered her heart. But just when she liked him and was ready to fall in love with him, he disappeared. Anina couldn't forget that night in Joseph's house. A few masked gang members shot at Lucas, and even his body disappeared in the end. She thought she would never see Lucas again in this life. But she didn't expect to meet Lucas, who was already dead, when she came to an exhibition in China with a group. This sour and alkaline feeling made her heart feel like it was overturned, and the sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, and salty feelings all rushed her head. Before she said a word to Lucas, her azure blue eyes were filled with tears that could roll down at any time. However, the corner of her mouth revealed a smile, the sweetest and happiest smile in the world. What could make people happier than coming back from the dead? While the two of them looked at each other silently, Hu Ho, who was next to them, frowned. He didn't call out to Charlotte anymore. He walked over and took Charlotte's hand before leading him to the group of foreign businessmen. Charlotte was extremely nervous. He wanted to turn around and run away, but in the blink of an eye, he realized that Anina had already seen him. If he ran away now, it would mean that he had a guilty conscience. Moreover, the monk could run away, but the temple could not. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and go forward. Hu Ho said with a smile, "Everyone, let me introduce you. This is Haiju Cities." But before Hu Ho could finish his words, Anina suddenly ran over and hugged Charlotte. Charlotte froze on the spot. Her breasts were very soft and bouncy, but his mind was blank. He didn't feel anything. "You know each other?" Hu Ho looked surprised. Although he didn't understand German, the two of them were hugging each other. So how could he not know each other? But Charlotte couldn't answer such a simple question. Lucas. Anina hugged Charlotte tightly and lost control of her emotions. This must be a miracle. I thought I would never see you again in this life. It must be God who made you appear in front of me. It must be. Next to the booth of Lima Manufacturing Company, Guan Lingshan suddenly pulled Liang Xiao, who was sorting out the orders, and then pointed at Charlotte and Anina. Glancing at them, Liang Xiao was also stunned. What the hell? What's going on? Guan Lingshan adjusted her glasses and said in surprise, "Is that foreign girl President Xia's?" Liang Xiao glared at Guan Lingshan. "What nonsense are you talking about? That's the etiquette of meeting foreign people." "Well, I've said too much," Guan Lingshan muttered, "but they've been hugging for a minute and still haven't separated. Which country's etiquette is this?" There was no trace of happiness on Liang Xiao's face. On this side, Anina finally let go of Charlotte. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. "Lucas, don't you want to say something to me?" Charlotte hadn't said a word until now. Her heart was broken. Charlotte looked at her and said reluctantly, "Miss, what did you say? I don't understand German." "You." Anina couldn't believe it. Although she didn't understand Chinese, she could guess what Charlotte said. She was sure that Charlotte was Lucas because she was familiar with his smell. Besides, how could there be two people who looked 100% alike in this world? However, this was what made her sad. He was clearly Lucas, so why did he pretend not to know her? He didn't smile and spoke to her in Chinese that she didn't understand. The translator of the foreign group came over and translated Charlotte's words to Anina. Anina said sadly, "Lucas, have you forgotten me?" The translator translated Anina's words to Charlotte. "I'm sorry, Anina. I didn't want to do this. It's just that if I recognize you, it might bring about international disputes." Charlotte thought so in his heart. He hardened his heart and said, "Miss, my name is Charlotte, not Lucas. You must have mistaken me for someone else." The translator translated Charlotte's words to Anina. Anina couldn't hold back the sadness in her heart anymore. Her tears fell down. She bit her lips and couldn't say anything. A large group of foreign businessmen looked at Charlotte with a strange look. Charlotte pretended to be embarrassed. He shrugged and said, "This miss must have mistaken me for someone else. This is the first time we met. I must look like a friend of hers." Well, let me recommend our company's new product, automatic skateboard. It's very fashionable and cool. You will definitely like it. After the translator translated Charlotte's words, the foreign businessmen moved to the Lima Manufacturing Company's booth. A foreign businessman comforted Anina and then went to the exhibition booth. Anina didn't move. She looked straight at Charlotte and said, "Why? Do you think it's your wife? But even if it's because of her, you don't even have the courage to recognize me." Charlotte spread out his hands and said, "Miss, I'm sorry. I really don't understand what you're saying. I know you're Lucas. I also know you can understand German." Charlotte smiled bitterly and said, "You really have mistaken me for someone else. I really am not. I really don't understand what you're saying." He almost spilled the beans. Cold sweat appeared on his back. Anina shook her head and said, "You can't fool me. You are Lucas. I am familiar with your smell." Charlotte was speechless. "Is there something that you can't say?" Anina asked again. This question made Charlotte suddenly nervous. He was worried that she would think of Joseph and his smart machine tool. It was entirely possible because Anina also knew about Joseph's smart machine tool, and he was shot to death in Joseph's house. If she hadn't met him here, she would never have made such a connection in her life. But the earth was so big, and she actually appeared in front of him again. She was so smart. Wouldn't she think about it and make such a connection? Charlotte's nervous reaction didn't escape Anina's eyes. Her gaze also became strange. She looked at Charlotte and seemed to be thinking about something. She didn't say anything else. "Miss, excuse me. I have to go greet the businessman." Charlotte didn't dare to stay with her anymore. He turned and walked to the booth. Anina was stunned for a moment. She followed behind Charlotte and walked to the booth. Liang Xiao couldn't even be bothered to greet the businessmen. She walked over to them. Before she got close to Charlotte, she saw that Charlotte kept blinking at her. His mouth was also moving, as if he was hinting something to her. She was suddenly confused. What was going on? Charlotte was also flustered. He ignored the fact that Anina didn't understand Mandarin. He was also worried that the group's translator would translate his words to Anina, so he didn't dare to speak to Liang Xiao. But just as he was about to step past Liang Xiao grabbed his arm and hugged his waist intimately. "I'm dead meat." Charlotte sighed in his heart, and his head drooped. He had been in Germany for a month, and Long Bing had been acting as his wife. Anina often used her bicycle to send him to his rented house. Even if they didn't go in, she had seen Long Bing's appearance. Now, in front of Anina, Liang Xiao was showing off their affection in his arms. How could a smart woman like Anina not see it? But this wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that Liang Xiao's display of affection would lead Anina's thoughts to a dangerous place. Who would pretend to be married? Who would be mysteriously resurrected after being shot? Weren't these suspicious points obvious enough? This prodigal woman, why was she showing off her affection for no reason? Sure enough, seeing Liang Xiao getting into Charlotte's arms and pretending to be intimate, Anina was stunned for a moment. Then she was surprised. Finally, she smiled. She walked straight to Charlotte and Liang Xiao, reached out and patted Charlotte's shoulder, and said calmly, "Lucas, my phone number hasn't changed. Call me later, let's talk." Charlotte wanted to bang his head against the wall. Liang Xiao looked at Anina and said unhappily, "What did you say?" Anina smiled and said, "You're not his wife. Stop acting. I'm not a fool. You lied to me once. Do you want to lie to me a second time?" Liang Xiao didn't understand German. She looked at Charlotte, waiting for Charlotte to translate for her. However, Charlotte looked at Anina, nervously guessing what she was thinking. Anina suddenly moved closer to Charlotte's ear in front of Liang Xiao and whispered, "You have a secret." Charlotte wanted to say that he didn't understand, but he couldn't say it anymore. "I'll wait for your call. If you don't call me, you'll regret it." After saying that, Anina suddenly kissed Charlotte's cheek. Charlotte froze. Liang Xiao also froze, but Anina calmly walked into the group of German businessmen. Who is she?" Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte suspiciously. Charlotte smiled bitterly and said, "I know what you're thinking, but it's definitely not what you think. I've been to Germany for a while, you know. Her name is Anina, a colleague of mine there. She's an advanced mechanic." Liang Xiao's lips curled up. "A colleague who cried for you? She actually kissed you in front of me. If it wasn't for the special situation today, I would have slapped her. It's really not what you think." "Then what is it?" Charlotte felt that his head was about to explode. How did things become like this? Chapter 2:14. Xiaolei stood by the side of the road like a statue. The people on the street were in a hurry. Women's faces kept appearing in his mind. Anina's, Liang Xiao's, Shinda Tianin's, Jiang Rui's, and Long Bing's. They formed a secret garden, but he wasn't a happy gardener, but an unlucky guy with pollen allergy. A black Buick MPV stopped on the side of the road. The window rolled down, and Long Bing's face appeared from behind the window. "Get in." Charlotte opened the door and got in the car. Long Bing drove the car forward, but the speed was very slow. "You said that the German mechanic caught up with us. How is that possible?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "I also thought it was impossible, but she came. We shot you in front of her, and the body is gone. The evidence left behind points to the local gangs. She couldn't have known you were still alive. Even if she knew you were alive, the earth is so big. How did she find this place?" Long Bing's tone was full of surprise and confusion. Yes, the earth was so big. She could have gone anywhere but here. Charlotte smiled bitterly and shook his head. "She came with a German delegation. Maybe it was a coincidence. I really can't think of any other reason. Forget it. She's already here, and she's seen me. What do you think we should do?" "Wait." Long Bing frowned. "You said she came with a German delegation?" "Yes." Charlotte said, "Those German businessmen liked our company's automatic skateboards, and several of them even placed orders." Long Bing said, "There's something wrong with this." Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and he seemed to understand. Long Bing continued, "Anina is a senior mechanic from Krupp Mark Machinery Manufacturing Company. She is not a businessman, but she appeared in a delegation of businessmen, and she happened to meet you. You have to figure out why Krupp Mark Machinery Manufacturing Company sent a mechanic like her to China. Also, you have to figure out what she wants." Charlotte suddenly had a headache. "I don't even dare to meet her, and you want me to figure this out? I suspect she has already guessed that my identity in Germany is fake. She even guessed that our target is Joseph's smart machine tool. She said if I don't contact her, I will regret it. This is already a hint. Isn't it obvious enough?" Long Bing stared at Xiaolei. "You must go. I called you to ask you to help me solve the problem, but you asked me to help you solve the problem. Are you kidding me?" Xiaolei looked very depressed. Long Bing said seriously, don't forget, you're the 101 innings consultant. Your identity is to help us solve the problem. Charlotte, I want you to figure out her purpose. This is very important. You need to investigate clearly whether she came to China with the German government's instructions. If she was instructed by the German government to investigate the last incident, we have to be prepared in advance. If she is not instructed by the German government and is just a pure business representative sent by Krupp-Mark Machinery Manufacturing Company, then you have to calm her down, coax her, and satisfy all her requirements. Satisfy all her requirements. Charlotte suddenly remembered Nina racking her brains to make Laura wear a green hat. Satisfy all her requirements. If she wanted that, wouldn't he have to give it to her? Yes, satisfy all her requirements. You can give her the money, and the Bureau will reimburse you. As long as she is willing to accept the money, then things will be easy. If she wants, Charlotte really couldn't open his mouth. Long Bing said, if she wants you, I say, I don't need to teach you this kind of thing, right? Charlotte's forehead was already full of sweat. At this time, Liang Xiao's face appeared in his mind. She was looking at him fiercely. Long Bing seemed to see through Charlotte's thoughts. You don't have to consider Liang Xiao's feelings. This matter is related to the national interest. In front of the national interest, your love is not worth mentioning. Besides, Liang Xiao is just your girlfriend, not your legal wife. Even if you and Anina do that, it's not a big deal. Don't worry, I will keep a secret for you. Charlotte looked at her speechlessly. Listening to her tone, why did it sound like she was gloating? Also, do you remember what I told you about spies? Long Bing said, if Anina's coming to China this time is related to this mysterious spy, then things are very serious. We have to find the spy. And then? You don't need to worry about this, Long Bing said, call Anina. The most important thing for you now is to calm him down. Charlotte sighed. He took out his mobile phone and looked at the time on the phone. He said, it's still early. I'll go to Phoenix. I promised Shinta Tianyin to visit her father. After visiting Shan Turin, I'll see Anina. You? Long Bing smiled bitterly. You're really busy. Are you tired? Charlotte rolled his eyes at her. Take me to the parking lot. I'll go get the car. Half an hour later, Charlotte appeared in front of a villa with a bouquet of carnations. He reached out and knocked on the door. The door opened, and Fu Mingmei appeared at the door. Seeing Xia Lei, a smile appeared on her face. Mr. Xia, please come in. Where's Tianyin? Charlotte asked after entering the door. Fu Mingmei said, she's in the master's room. I'll take you there. Charlotte followed Fu Mingmei to Shun Turin's room. In the room, Shun Turin was lying on the bed. Shinta Tianyin was sitting on a chair beside the bed, whispering something. Sister Tianyin, Mr. Xia is here, Fu Mingmei said. Shinta Tianyin looked over with a smile. All right, Mingmei, you can go do what you need to do. Fu Mingmei smiled and closed the door behind her as she left. Her attitude toward Charlotte was much better than before, not for anything else, but because Charlotte had cured Shun Turin. Charlotte walked over and placed the bouquet of carnations at the head of the bed. Then he looked at Shun Turin and said in a warm voice, Uncle, are you better? Shun Turin also stared at Charlotte. His lips moved, but he couldn't say a word. However, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were very kind. Shinta Tianyin said, my father can occasionally say a word. His condition is getting better day by day. Charlotte said with a smile, that's good. Take good care of yourself, and pay attention to exercise. Exercise is the best way to improve the function of the heart and lungs. When you have nothing to do, help Uncle move his hands and feet to promote his blood circulation. This can shorten the time it takes for him to get out of bed. Shinta Tianyin smiled at Charlotte. I help my father move his hands and feet. When I'm not here, Uncle Fu and Ming Mei will also help him move his hands and feet. Sit. A weak and hoarse voice suddenly came out of Shun Turin's mouth. Shinta Tianyin said excitedly, see, I said my father can say a word now. He asked you to sit. Sit. Charlotte sat on the edge of the bed and said with a smile, Uncle, you're welcome. Shun Turin still wanted to say something, but he didn't succeed this time. Shinta Tianyin said, My father knows that you cured him, and he has always wanted to see you. If he could speak normally, he would definitely want to express his gratitude to you. Charlotte woke up Shun Turin, who had been paralyzed for 3 years. This was a life-saving grace, so it was reasonable for Shun Turin to be grateful to Charlotte. Why are you so polite? Uncle, let me give you a massage. Charlotte began to massage Shun Turin's legs. He could see the acupuncture points and meridians, as well as some internal strength. His massage was very good for Shun Turin's body. After a few minutes of his massage, Shun Turin's face had a touch of color, and his complexion was much better than before. After the massage, Charlotte used silver needles to acupuncture Shun Turin. After the massage and acupuncture, more than half an hour had passed. Stay! Shun Turin's condition suddenly improved a lot. Ida! Shinta Tianyin said excitedly. My father said 4 words, Lei. You really are a divine doctor. Charlotte smiled. I'm not a divine doctor, I just know a little acupuncture. Shinta Tianyin said, the best hospitals and doctors in the world couldn't cure my father, but you cured him, so don't be modest. It's not like I don't know how strong you are. Well, my father has personally asked you to stay for dinner, so you stay for dinner. I'll go to the kitchen to cook. Charlotte looked at Shinta Tianyin in surprise. We're going to the kitchen to cook? Shinta Tianyin's mouth slightly tilted. Why, in your eyes, am I the kind of woman who can't even cook? No, it's just... Charlotte wanted to say it, but couldn't say it. Actually, he had never thought of eating dinner here, but Shinta Rin had personally asked him to stay for dinner, and Shinta Tianyin had even personally cooked. If he said that he did not eat, it would really be a bit unreasonable. However, if he stayed for dinner, what about Anina? He could imagine that at this moment, Anina was looking at her mobile phone in a hotel room, waiting for Lucas's call. Charlotte's hesitation fell into Shinta Tianyin's eyes, and she naturally thought of another woman. She said with some displeasure, why don't you call Miss Liang? If she doesn't agree, I'll talk to her. Charlotte's face suddenly turned red. I'm so old. Do I still need to report where I eat? Let me help you. Let's go to the kitchen together. Okay, I want to see my cooking skills. A smile appeared on Shinta Tianyin's face. In the kitchen, Charlotte washed the vegetables and rice, while Shinta Tianyin cooked. Before this, Charlotte had never imagined what Shinta Tianyin looked like in the kitchen, but this time he saw it with his own eyes. She was the kind of woman who was extremely beautiful, elegant, and noble, like a fairy who didn't eat the food of the world, but when she wore an apron, her body actually had a kind of housewife's aura, giving people a warm and sweet feeling. The queen wearing an apron, Charlotte looked at her several times. Splash! A bowl of shredded meat went into the pot, and the hot rapeseed oil splashed up, and a few drops splashed onto Shinta Tianyin's hand. She suddenly cried out in pain and covered her hand to avoid it. Charlotte hurriedly went up to turn off the gas, and then grabbed her hand. Let me see. Are you hurt anywhere? Shinta Tianyin looked at Charlotte quietly, letting him grab her hand. Charlotte pulled Shinta Tianyin to the vegetable sink and washed her hand with cold water, and then smeared a little rapeseed oil on the area that was scalded by the oil. He comforted her. It's okay. It's just a little burn. It won't leave a scar. Shinta Tianyin didn't say anything, just quietly looked at Charlotte. At this moment, her eyes were very gentle. Charlotte avoided her eyes and said a little nervously, let me do it. No, let me do it. Don't stay here. You'll disturb me. Go watch TV in the living room. Shinta Tianyin pushed Charlotte out of the kitchen. She wanted to personally cook a meal for Charlotte, but she would not tell Charlotte this reason. It was already dark when he left Phoenix City. Xia Lei dialed in Nina's number in the car. Chapter 215. Hello, this is... When the call connected, Charlotte hesitated for a moment before speaking in German. I'm Lucas. Where are you? Anina's voice came from the phone, full of excitement. You're finally willing to admit that you're Lucas, you liar. Charlotte braced himself and said, Where are you? I think it's called Haiju International Hotel. I'm on the 6th floor, room 508. Anina said, Wait for me, I'll be right there. Charlotte hung up. 10 minutes later, Charlotte drove to Haiju International Hotel and took the elevator to the 6th floor. Exiting the elevator, two blonde Germans walked towards him in the hallway. One was a translator from a German business group, and the other was a businessman who had already placed an order with Lima Manufacturing Company. Charlotte knew both of them. The translator was called Andreas, and the businessman was called Leo. They were the CEO of a retail brand in Munich. "Mr. Xia, why are you here?" Andreas greeted him warmly in Chinese. Charlotte smiled and said, "I'm here to look for Miss Anina." Leo said in German, "Mr. Xia, you have to be gentle with her and explain the misunderstanding between you two properly. Anina is a very nice girl. We all like her very much." Charlotte pretended to be confused. "Sorry, I don't understand German." Andreas translated Leo's words for Charlotte. Charlotte nodded. "Yes, I will explain her properly. That's also why I'm here. All right, I'll head over first. Goodbye, gentlemen." The two Germans nodded politely and watched as Charlotte walked to Anina's room. "This young man from China is very outstanding," Leo said softly. "The automatic skateboard he designed is really good," Andreas said. "This is Miss Anina's first time in China. How does she know him?" Leo shook his head. "I don't know. I asked, but she wouldn't say anything." "Forget it. It's none of our business." Andreas retracted his gaze and walked towards the elevator with Leo. Charlotte came to the door of room 508. His left eye twitched slightly, and he saw everything in the room. Anina was sitting in front of the dressing table and putting on her makeup. She had already changed into a long black dress and paired it with a white towel. The contrast of black and white made her look even more elegant, mature, and sexy. While Charlotte was observing the situation in the room with his X-ray vision, Anina stood up from the dressing table. She picked up a bottle of perfume and sprayed it under her armpits. She then moved the bottle to her perky breasts and sprayed it twice. Finally, she gently lifted her black skirt and sprayed a few times on her legs and between her legs. The perfume seemed to have been sprayed on Charlotte's eyes. He could no longer maintain his X-ray vision. He complained bitterly in his heart. "Isn't it obvious that... What should I do?" After much hesitation, Charlotte braced himself and knocked on the door. The door opened, and Anina's face came into view. She had a smile, anticipation, and excitement on her face. She was still as sexy, charming, and flirtatious as ever. However, Charlotte only felt guilt in his heart. He had used her, and then used the method of death to disappear from her world. If it wasn't for this chance encounter, he wouldn't have appeared in her life, and she would probably remember him for the rest of her life. How could this kind of hurt, this kind of debt, be covered up with just a few words? Their eyes met, but they didn't speak. It was as if they had been talking for an entire night. In the end, Charlotte couldn't win against Anina's passionate gaze. He shrugged and said, "Aren't you going to invite me in?" Anina finally came back to her senses and hurriedly moved aside to let him in. After Charlotte entered, she closed the door behind him. "I'm sorry, Anina. I lied to you." Charlotte turned to look at her. Since she had already seen through his identity, it would be too hypocritical of him to pretend not to know her. "I accept your apology and forgive you," Anina said with a smile. She forgave him just like that? "Charlotte, sit, have a drink. I prepared red wine." Anina walked to the coffee table and poured 2 glasses of red wine. She handed one to Charlotte and kept the other for herself. The red wine was in a decanter, so it was obvious that she had prepared everything. Anina clinked glasses with Charlotte. "To our reunion. Cheers." Charlotte smiled, then tilted his head back and downed the red wine in the wine glass. He then probed, "Anina, why are you in a business group like this? You're a mechanic, not a businessman." Anina looked at Charlotte with a smile. "You're already in character?" Charlotte was slightly stunned. "What character?" Anina sat on the sofa and crossed one leg, looking very relaxed. "Come and sit. We have to talk." Charlotte braced himself and sat next to her. "Tell me, why are you in a business group like this? Why do you want to know this?" Charlotte smiled. "I am just asking. Just asking." Anina looked straight at Charlotte. "You're a spy." Charlotte's smile froze on his face. He was not a spy, but when he went to Germany, he played the role of a genuine spy. Anina said that he was a spy, and he had no words to refute it. He had a preliminary judgment in his heart, and that was that Anina had already thought of the most dangerous place. What? You don't want to admit it. Charlotte said. You're mistaken. I'm not a spy. Stop pretending. I know why you entered Krupp Mac Maschinenbau. You became my assistant for the same reason. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Then tell me, what's my purpose? Anina put her head next to Charlotte's cheek and said in his ear, Joseph's intelligent lathe. Don't deny it. That's an insult to my intelligence. You're a China spy. Charlotte said, if I were a spy, I could kill you and solve the problem. But you asked me to come to your room. Aren't you afraid? Ha ha ha. Anina giggled. I know you. You're not a bad person. That day at the motorcycle bar, you could have not saved me, but you still saved me. Also, in the forest, you could have left me behind and run away, but you didn't do that. Also, you taught me how to use a gun and acted as my eyes to kill those gang gunmen. If you wanted my life, you had many chances in Germany, but you didn't. You won't hurt me, am I right? Charlotte was speechless. Only now did he understand that Anina had not guessed that he was a spy based on her feelings, but on actual evidence. That was that night in the forest when he acted as her eyes and killed those gang gunmen. It was very simple. How could a normal mechanic have that kind of ability? But if it was a spy, then it was possible. Confess to her? Just as this thought popped up in his head, Xiaolei felt a little perplexed. He thought to himself, she appeared out of nowhere. I asked her twice why she was in a business group like this, but she refused to answer. It's a very simple question. Why didn't she say anything? It was this trace of confusion that made him a bit more vigilant. Confessing to Anina was not a big deal. From his personal point of view, he believed her. But considering the interests of the country, he could not do so. Moreover, Anina had appeared out of nowhere. If she was being used or threatened, he would be in big trouble if he just casually admitted it. It was this trace of vigilance that made Charlotte's left eye twitch slightly, and he began to observe every corner of the room. In less than 30 seconds, he found a pinhole camera hidden in the wall of TVs. The camera was aimed at him and Anina. There really was a problem. Why aren't you saying anything? Anina looked straight at Charlotte. How long are you going to lie to me? Charlotte pretended to think about what to say, but his left eye continued to observe the situation in the room. Soon, he found a listening device installed in the end of the lamp at the head of the bed, as well as a pinhole camera installed in the mural at the head of the bed. The pinhole camera was facing the direction of the bed. If he and Anina were to do anything adult, the camera would be able to capture everything clearly. Have another drink. You're very nervous. Anina poured Charlotte another glass of wine. Red wine makes people relax. Charlotte took the wine, but did not drink it. Instead, he put on the coffee table. All right, I'll tell you everything. But you can't tell anyone. Promise me. Anina was a bit hesitant, but she still nodded. Her hesitation confirmed something for Charlotte. He relaxed and said mildly, Actually, you saw it too. I'm the boss of a manufacturing company in China. I've always been dissatisfied with our outdated manufacturing industry. I want to go to Germany to learn more advanced technology. As he spoke, his left eye locked onto the wall opposite him. His left eye twitched slightly, and the wall disappeared from his sight. In the room next door, two blonde men were sitting on the sofa, staring closely at a laptop. The screen of the laptop was playing the video of his conversation with Anina. His gaze locked onto the lips of the two men, and he used lip reading to interpret their conversation. He's lying. That guy's too cunning, said one of the blonde men. Did he discover something? Said the other blonde man. Impossible. If he did, he would have left. Let Anina sleep with him. The drug in the wine is about to take effect. Men are willing to say anything in bed. The blonde man picked up the communicator on the coffee table. Get on the bed. This was an order. Charlotte looked away, his heart filled with sorrow. She was no longer that innocent and cute mechanic Anina. She had come prepared this time. Chapter 2:16. Her body entered his line of sight without any cover. Her snow-white and delicate skin, her towering breasts, her flat and smooth abdomen, and Anina grabbed her clothes to cover her chest and then took out her phone to make a call. No, I just feel a little hot and dizzy. Charlotte raised his glass. Maybe it's because I haven't drunk in a long time. Cheers. With that, he raised his glass and clinked it with Anina's, then tilted his head back and drank half of the glass of red wine. His blood didn't flow in vain. The two German agents inadvertently revealed a very important piece of information. The mysterious spy was the one who provided them with information about him. Anina suddenly turned around and stared at the camera on the oil painting. She said angrily, "What drug did you give him? What are you waiting for? Come and help." Anina straightened her shoulders, and the straps of her black dress slipped silently from her shoulders. She only had a small black patch on her body. The amount of fabric was pitiful, so pitiful that it couldn't even cover up her ugliness. Her sex appeal could make seeds sprout, and it could also make curved ones straighten. She instantly conquered them. "Lucas? Lucas!" Anina rushed forward. She shouted Charlotte's German name and shook his shoulders hard, but Charlotte just closed his eyes and didn't wake up. But at this moment, Charlotte, who was a few steps away from her, suddenly had a nosebleed and then fell to the ground with a plop. It's actually not complicated. I just wanted to see the advanced equipment in Germany and learn from your advanced technology. It's that simple. I'm not a spy at all. I have my own factory, and I also have a normal and happy life. Why would I be a spy? After understanding the situation, Charlotte finished his lie. "This operation is over." A blond man said, "Call the translator and ask him to call the ambulance." Anina also drank the wine in her glass, but she looked normal. Obviously, she had taken the antidote beforehand. The other party definitely wouldn't dare to assassinate him in China. That wasn't their goal, so it was certain that the drug in the wine wouldn't be dangerous. It was because of this judgment that Charlotte dared to drink a second glass of wine with Anina. The two blonde men in the room next door were also stunned. "There's nothing wrong with the medicine. There's no danger. How could he?" The other blonde man looked very confused. A minute later, the two finally gave up. Looking at her rosy and plump lips, Charlotte suddenly had the urge to kiss them. At this moment, he suddenly understood what drug had been added to the wine, an aphrodisiac drug. Charlotte's nose was still bleeding. In the blink of an eye, his face and collar were wet. There was also a large pool of blood on the carpet. "Are you afraid that I would drug the wine?" Anina asked sadly. Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly. In his left eye's vision, Anina's clothes were like melting ice and snow. Everything hidden under the clothes was clearly visible to his left eye. She didn't have any weapons hidden on her body, but there was a very small flesh-colored receiver hidden in her left ear. Fortunately, he had dinner at Shinto Tianin's house before coming over. The food in his stomach mixed with the red wine, which slowed down the absorption of alcohol and drugs in his stomach. He did drink the red wine with the drug, but there wasn't much drug that actually entered his blood. After spitting it out, he felt much more relaxed. The dry and hot feeling in his lower abdomen didn't disappear, but it wasn't unbearable. Then he took out the bag of needles that he carried with him, took out a silver needle, and quickly pricked it on his nose. However, although he clearly thought so in his heart and deliberately maintained self-control, his body inexplicably had a sensitive reaction. The first place that appeared was his lower abdomen. There seemed to be a piece of charcoal quietly burning in his lower abdomen, making him more and more provocative and becoming more and more desired. Damn it, how could this happen? Two blonde men squatted beside Charlotte with furrowed brows. Anina didn't continue asking questions about Charlotte. She poured herself a glass of wine and raised it. "Lucas, let's drink to your survival." The dry and hot feeling in his lower abdomen was getting stronger and stronger. If he drank another glass, he was sure that he wouldn't be able to resist such a strong aphrodisiac. What should he do? Anina frowned slightly, and her eyes were filled with tears. "Lucas, why are you still lying to me? Don't you believe me?" Anina's gaze quietly shifted to the area between Charlotte's legs. She saw that the cloth there had become tight, and a smile quietly appeared on the corner of her mouth. There were still traces of tears in the corner of her eyes, but there was a smile on the corner of her mouth. It was a strange and coquettish expression. Long Bing had asked him to investigate this matter clearly, and he had completed this task. Charlotte entered the washroom and quickly turned on the faucet. Then, he quickly scanned the washroom with his X-ray vision. After confirming that there were no cameras installed, he put his head under the faucet and gulped down the tap water. He drank about 2 kilograms of water and only stopped when he couldn't drink anymore. He walked to the toilet, stuck his right index finger into his throat, and after a few seconds, he vomited out the red wine and water, as well as the food he had eaten for dinner. The wine was right in front of him. Should he drink it or not? However, when he thought of the spy lurking around him, he was a little hesitant and couldn't make a decision. Well, that's the only way. What's going on? He hasn't even slept with Anina yet, and he's already so weak. If he does, won't he suddenly die? A blonde man was very surprised. Anina put down the wine glass and said slowly, "It's so hot." She pulled open her chest and gently fanned it. Once the neckline was opened, a large area of snow-white skin was exposed. She wasn't wearing a bra, and the cleavage was deep enough to drown a strong man. Although he didn't know what the relationship between Anina and the 2 blonde men in the room next door was, and he didn't know why she was doing this, but Charlotte already knew one thing, and that was that he had drunk the wine with unknown drugs, and the other party wanted him to admit that he was a spy and stole the secret of Joseph's smart machine tool. They might have some other motives, but it was hard to guess. But one thing was for sure, he was now in a very dangerous situation. What was going on? "Hurry up, I'll wait for you," Anina said coquettishly. "My Lucas, do you know how much I miss you?" Anina roared at the camera again. "Bastard, if you don't come over, I'll call the ambulance." The 2 people in the room next door wanted him to sleep with Anina, but they definitely wouldn't do it for free. Anina would get a confession from him in bed, and the pinhole camera installed in the oil painting at the head of the bed would also record his and Anina's movements in bed. These would all become evidence, and they might even use it to blackmail him. "Lucas, do you know, ever since you saved me from those thugs, I've been dreaming of this day. I'm yours. I only belong to you. I want to give my everything to you," Anina said passionately, her face full of happiness and joy. Anina's emotions were a little out of control. "I've had enough. I'm just a mechanic. I'm not a spy. Do you know how painful it is for me to lie to him? We have to contact that person. We can't be discovered. We need more help. I've called the translator. He said the ambulance will be here in 15 minutes. Anina came over and knelt beside Charlotte, her eyes full of worry. She had the unique sexiness of Western women, a height of 1.8 meters, and a perfect 9-headed body. Such a height did not make her look thin at all. On the contrary, she looked very plump, just the right amount of plump, making people feel that she was too fat, and if she was too thin, they would feel that she was too fat. Women like her had the smell of a wild horse, her whole body containing strength and wildness, making men want to carry her to bed and then fiercely conquer her. "I don't know either. Our medicine is not dangerous, and it's not the first time we've used it. Didn't it work the last time we used it in Syria? That guy is still a devout believer, but he has also become our informant." At this moment, many thoughts went through Charlotte's mind. Charlotte suddenly stood up. "I'm going to the bathroom." A blond man said, "Follow him to the hospital, bring the translator, and let him ask the doctor what kind of illness he has. You take care of him when he's sick, accompany him, he will be touched, and you can successfully complete the task." The 2 blond men came back to their senses, hurriedly left the room, and came to Anina's room. A blond man brought a towel from the bathroom to stop Charlotte's bleeding, and another blond man touched Charlotte's carotid artery. In the room, Anina's position had been moved to the bed. She raised an arm and gently waved to Charlotte, motioning him to come over. Her eyes were charming, and there was a bit of drunken rouge on her jade-like dimples, extremely attractive. Xiaolei smiled and pretended to be infatuated as he walked towards her step by step. "Maybe he's sick, damn. Seducing him won't work. We have to find another way." Charlotte sighed in his heart. So this was the truth. Anina's head drooped down weakly. Her sexiness was in front of him, close at hand, but Charlotte didn't have the slightest desire to peep and appreciate it. A voice kept ringing in his mind. "Danger! I can't do stupid things. I have to leave here." Charlotte's pulse was normal, but his nose kept bleeding. The blond man took a towel to stop the bleeding, but he couldn't stop it. He could turn around and leave, no matter what Anina did. Without conclusive evidence, the other party couldn't do anything to him. This choice seemed to be the wisest choice, and he should do so. Charlotte heard the conversation of the two blonde men clearly. Although his left eye was closed, he could see things clearly. His eyelids were simply decorations for his left eye. Charlotte flushed the toilet and left the bathroom. The other blonde man sneered, "You'd better be smart. It's because of your help that the China spy succeeded. He stole our most advanced technology, which made the blockade that the European Union and the United States imposed on China useless. Do you know how serious this is? If you don't cooperate, what awaits you is imprisonment. Do you want that?" Chapter 217. Charlotte was pushed into the operating room, and Anina was stopped by the doctor outside the door. The light on the operating table was suddenly turned on, and the bright light shone on Charlotte. Charlotte opened his eyes, but his right eye closed again. His left eye could adapt to the bright light of the operating light, but his right eye was normal and couldn't adapt to it. Charlotte saw a male doctor and a female nurse. His left eye moved slightly, and the corner of his mouth showed a trace of a smile. The male doctor and the female nurse took off their masks at the same time. The male doctor was Ku Jie, and the female nurse was Long Bing. "Turn off the operating light, it's too bright." As he spoke, Charlotte climbed up from the operating table. This time, he even squinted his left eye. Ku Jie also turned off the operating light. Long Bing asked with concern, "What's wrong with your nose?" Charlotte stuttered, "It's nothing. It's just a little nosebleed." With his current level of acupuncture, it was very easy to make a nosebleed. Long Bing said, "You saw something you shouldn't have seen and was stimulated, so you had a nosebleed, right?" Charlotte looked at her speechlessly. He didn't think she would make such a joke, but looking at her, it didn't seem like she was joking. Puff. Ku Jie laughed strangely. He obviously thought of the scene of Charlotte seeing Anina naked and then having a nosebleed. Long Bing glared at him and said coldly, "What are you laughing at? Face the wall." "Yes." Ku Jie stood at attention, turned around, and walked to the wall to stand straight. Long Bing took out a phone and handed it to Charlotte. There was a photo on the phone, and the person in the photo had blonde hair and blue eyes. It was one of the two German agents who controlled Anina in Haizhu International Hotel. Long Bing swiped the screen, and the phone screen showed a photo of the second German agent. Both photos were taken at Haizhu International Hotel at night. It wasn't hard to guess that someone from floors 101 had secretly taken photos of the two German agents in the hotel. Xiaolei's brows furrowed slightly. "You followed me?" Long Bing didn't answer Charlotte's question. She just said, "Is it these two people?" Charlotte nodded his head and unhappily said, "Since you guys were in the hotel, why didn't you help me? Do you know how dangerous I am?" Long Bing's lips curled into a disdainful smile. "What danger are you in? The most dangerous thing would be sleeping with Anina, right? If it was any other man, why were you so nervous? And I believe that even if you slept with Anina, you wouldn't betray your own country, right?" Charlotte was speechless. He finally understood. Long Bing and her people followed him to the hotel. At that time, if she was willing to save the situation, she had many ways to destroy the two hotel agents in Anina's plan, but she didn't take any action. Now it seemed that she treated this mission as a training and test. Long Bing said, "You did a good job, but your nose is bleeding a little too much. Don't blame me for not saving the situation. This is our territory, and it's under our control. No matter how dangerous it is, it won't be life-threatening. But once you leave our territory and carry out a mission abroad, you must have the ability to take charge." Charlotte sighed. "Okay, I don't blame you. I know what you want to know. This matter is indeed related to that mysterious spy. The fact that we stole the secret of Joseph's smart machine tool has been known by Germany and the United States. They seem to want to use Anina to make me confess, and then use the evidence they have to get what they want. Also, Anina was forced to do it. They threatened her that if she didn't cooperate with them, she would be sentenced to life in prison." Long Bing looked at Charlotte. "What are you going to do?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "She's German, and she was threatened by German agents. What can I do? I don't know. I think she's quite pitiful. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have encountered such a thing. Long Bing said, if it weren't for you, she would probably be in a brothel in a black community in Europe now. Don't be compassionate about this matter. Just do what you have to do. Charlotte was silent. It was easy to ignore Anina, but his conscience would be uneasy. Okay, you will be admitted to the ward later. Don't expose yourself in front of her, and try to deal with her and the 2 German agents. I will monitor the 2 German agents. Once they contact the spy, we will be able to catch him, Long Bing said. Charlotte nodded silently. He was no longer in the mood to think about the mission. He was thinking about Anina. How should he face her? A few minutes later, Charlotte was pushed out of the operating room. His nose was wrapped in gauze, and the gauze was stuffed with ointment. He really looked like a patient who had just undergone nasal surgery. Lucas, how are you? As soon as the mobile bed was out of the operating room, Anina greeted him, her eyes full of concern and worry. I'm fine. Don't worry. Charlotte's voice sounded very weak. Long Bing pushed Charlotte into a ward with no patients, and then she put Charlotte on an intravenous drip. However, it wasn't any medicine, but normal saline solution and glucose. The German translator who came with Anina, Andreas, asked Long Bing in Mandarin, Miss Nurse, what illness does this gentleman have? Long Bing said, he took an aphrodisiac, but his nose is born with a defect. If he gets too excited, it will easily cause his blood vessels to rupture. It's okay. We have taken care of it. Don't let him take that kind of medicine in the future. Really, he is so young. He doesn't need to take that kind of medicine at all. There is nothing wrong with his body. He can leave after the infusion. All right, that's all. With that, she left the ward. Andreas translated Long Bing's words to Anina in German, and the way he looked at Anina was very strange. Anina blushed and said awkwardly, Okay, I understand. Mr. Andreas, thank you. You can go back to the hotel. I will stay with him. Andreas also left the ward. Anina sat on the edge of the bed and held Charlotte's hand tightly. Lucas, I'm sorry, I put some aphrodisiac in the wine, but I didn't know there was a problem with your nose. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. What kind of aphrodisiac is that? Charlotte asked, even though he already knew the answer. Anina avoided Charlotte's eyes, and her words were a little evasive. That is the aphrodisiac that will make you want me. You know, I like you, I want you, but you're too shy. If you could take the initiative, I won't put aphrodisiac in the wine at all. After all, Western women were far more open in terms of emotions and sex than Eastern women. If they liked someone, they would directly say it, and if they wanted to sleep with someone, they would directly say it. She was so straightforward that Charlotte was a little embarrassed. You know, Anina interrupted Charlotte's words. That's fake. Laura doesn't exist at all. Don't try to lie to me again. Charlotte smiled bitterly. I have a fiancée. Her name is Liang Xiao. You have seen her, the girl in the white dress at the fair. Anina's eyes suddenly dimmed, and she couldn't say anything. Charlotte also didn't speak. His mind was full of things, and it was a mess. After the infusion, Charlotte and Anina left the hospital and took a taxi to Haiju International Hotel. Charlotte's car was still in the hotel's parking lot. Sending Anina back to the hotel was also the reason why he came back to pick up the car. Go back and rest. Charlotte hugged Anina. You don't have to blame yourself. It's nothing. I won't take this matter to heart. Only then did Anina force a smile. Can I still see you? Of course you can. You already have my phone number. You can call me or ask me out. Charlotte said, That's it then. Good night. Lucas. Anina suddenly stopped Charlotte, who was turning to leave. Charlotte looked back at her. Is there anything else? Anina's lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but she couldn't say it in the end. Nothing, good night. Charlotte sighed softly in his heart. He got in a car and drove away from the hotel. Anina didn't have the courage to tell him the truth. He could actually understand her. In the face of the threat of life imprisonment, she had no other choice. Charlotte didn't go to Liang Xiao's house, but returned to his own home. As soon as he parked the car downstairs, the lights in Jiang Rui's house were turned on. Then, Jiang Rui, who was wearing pajamas, also appeared on the balcony. She was still as sexy and beautiful as ever, curvaceous and curvaceous. However, There wasn't a hint of a smile on her face as she glared at Xiaolei. "What are you doing?" Charlotte said with a smile. "We haven't seen each other for so long. You didn't even greet me. You even stared at me. What do you mean?" "Oomph. I've already broken up with you. Don't talk to me," Jiang Rui said. "Stop messing around, okay?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Right, I told you last time about giving you a gift. Have you thought about what gift you want?" "I don't want your gift." "Oh yes, this is the slipper you gave me last year. I will return it to you." Jiang Rui took off the slipper on her feet and threw it at Charlotte. Charlotte dodged one and then the second. He, who had a gauze wrapped around his nose, was rarely embarrassed. "What happened to your nose?" After venting, Jiang Rui seemed to feel better. She became more normal and began to care about others. "It's nothing. It's just, I bumped it in the factory." Charlotte smiled and said, "Look at you. You still care about me, right?" "I care about your head. You deserve it." "Ha!" Jiang Rui laughed loudly, but there were some tears in her eyes. Charlotte looked at her and didn't know what to say. Jiang Rui suddenly said, "Give me back the slipper. I will buy a new one tomorrow and return it to you." Charlotte picked up the slipper on the ground and handed it to Jiang Rui onto the balcony. Jiang Rui took the slipper and put it on her feet. Then, she went into the house without saying a word. Soon, the lights were turned off. "This time, I'm afraid she will ignore me for half a month, right?" Charlotte thought so in his heart. He walked into the stairwell listlessly. When he went to the second floor, he was suddenly scared by the scene in front of him. His door was full of brown water stains, and there was a faint smell of soy sauce. But this wasn't the most exaggerated thing. The most exaggerated thing was that there were 2 sanitary napkins on the door, one horizontal and one vertical. It looked like a plus sign. Even if he used his toes to guess, he would know it was done by Jiang Rui. She used to do this after quarreling with her. Sometimes, she would use powder to draw a turtle on his door and then write the word Charlotte on the turtle's shell. Sometimes, she would pile a pile of sand at the door or secretly put a piece of flypaper. This was obviously the most excessive time, but Xiaolei actually didn't feel the slightest bit angry in his heart. There was only reminiscence and a touch of sadness. At this time, Jiang Rui's voice suddenly came from the stairwell downstairs. "The next time you bully me, I will use what I used before." "Humph." Charlotte. Chapter 218. The next day, at 5 o'clock in the morning, Charlotte arrived at Lima Manufacturing Company. As soon as he arrived, he went into his workshop to modify Long Bing's gun. He was busy until 8:30 when the company went to work. He put the disassembled AS-50 sniper rifle and the parts of the domestic sniper rifle that he had processed into a large metal box, and then locked the metal box. When he arrived at the office, he didn't see Liang Xiao. Just as Charlotte was about to call her, she walked into the office with a bag of food. The bag contained a cup of soy milk, a fried dough stick, and 2 buns. Seeing the food, Charlotte's stomach suddenly growled. He arrived at the factory at 5 o'clock, and he hadn't had breakfast yet. Liang Xiao coquettishly rolled her eyes at him. "I heard from the guard that you arrived at the factory a little past 5 o'clock. I thought that you must have not had breakfast, so I went to the snack shop to buy breakfast for you. Eat it while it's hot." Charlotte's heart warmed up. "My wife is the best." "I'm not your wife." Although Liang Xiao said this, she was very happy in her heart. Charlotte wolfed down the fried dough stick and buns. He was really hungry. In front of Liang Xiao, he didn't need to pretend to be polite. Liang Xiao's tone was a little reproachful. "Really, I know that you are busy modifying Long Bing's gun, but you can't not eat breakfast. Your health is the most important thing. If you are tired, will she care about you? Isn't it because I feel bad for you?" Charlotte smiled. "My Xiao is the best." Liang Xiao went around to Charlotte's back. First, she sniffed with her nose, and then laid on Charlotte's back softly. She tentatively said, "I didn't call you last night. Did you miss me?" This was a disguised way of asking him what he was doing last night, or who he was with. Charlotte said with a smile, "I'm at home, and I'm so honest. You can rest assured." Liang Xiao said with a smile, "Of course I believe you, but just because you're honest doesn't mean others are. Tianyin, Rui, and that foreign girl, Anina, they're not easy to deal with. I have to keep a close eye on you, or else they'll steal you away as soon as I turn around. Charlotte, feed me a mouthful of soy milk. Liang Xiao looked down from Charlotte's shoulder. Charlotte picked up the cup of soy milk and fed Liang Xiao a mouthful. However, such a posture drinking soy milk was still very awkward. Liang Xiao accidentally choked, and a small mouthful of soy milk sprayed onto Charlotte's pants. Black trousers and white soy milk. The picture made up was full of imagination. Sorry, let me help you wipe it. Liang Xiao squatted awkwardly between Charlotte's legs and helped Charlotte wipe the soy milk on his pants with a tissue. Charlotte did not refuse. He and Liang Xiao were in the stage of living together, and there was no unnaturalness between them at all. Not to mention that Liang Xiao wiped the soy milk on his pants. Even if Liang Xiao unzipped his pants and made some soy milk herself, it would not be embarrassing. However, at this moment, Lu Sheng suddenly appeared at the door. At a glance, he saw Liang Xiao squatting between Charlotte's legs and the white liquid on Charlotte's pants. Then, he saw the white liquid on the corner of Liang Xiao's mouth. At that moment, he was petrified, and the expression on his face was extremely strange. Liang Xiao and Charlotte stood up in a hurry. If there were only the two of them in this office, they would not feel embarrassed doing anything. But in front of outsiders, it was a different matter. Charlotte had an idea in this emergency. He picked up the soy milk on the table and said, "It's soy milk. The soy milk spilled on my pants." Liang Xiao's pretty face was also red. We didn't do anything. In fact, it would have been better if she did not explain. This explanation was a little bit like revealing the truth. Cough. Lu Sheng was also very embarrassed. He then changed the topic. Mayor who brought a large group of foreign businessmen to visit our company. It's right under the office building. Are the two of you going down now or later? If you're going down later, I'll go tell them and let them sit in the reception room. Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Lu Sheng. Monk, what are you thinking? Why do you want to stay for a while? Let's go down now. Seriously, we have nothing else to do. Charlotte seconded. Yes. We'll go down right now. Lu Sheng shrugged. Then I'll go down first. Before leaving, he pointed to the corner of his mouth. Xiao, wipe your mouth clean. Liang Xiao was so depressed that she wanted to hit her head against the wall. Charlotte reached out and wiped the soy milk off the corner of Liang Xiao's mouth. Let's go down and take a look. Liang Xiao punched Charlotte in embarrassment. It's all your fault. Monk even misunderstood that I gave you that. It's so embarrassing. What was that? Charlotte said with a smile. Liang Xiao glared at Charlotte and said angrily, Are you making fun of me too? I won't give you that in the future. Humph. Charlotte was anxious. He hugged her waist and led her out of the door. As they walked, he coaxed, All right, our Xiao is the most magnanimous. At most, I'll give you that first. Tui, stop talking. I'm so embarrassed. You're so shameless. Liang Xiao's face was completely red, and her legs inexplicably turned to jelly. The two of them flirted as they walked out of the office. The two of them went downstairs and saw Hu Ho and the foreign businessmen he brought with him. The expo wasn't over yet. The employees of Lima Manufacturing Company were still guarding the booth of Lima Manufacturing Company, but Hu Ho brought the foreign businessmen here. From this, it could be seen how popular Lima Manufacturing Company's automatic skateboard was. However, Charlotte knew that it wasn't entirely because of this reason. It was because he saw Nina and the two German agents in the foreign businessmen's group. It wasn't hard to guess the intentions of the two German agents. They wanted to come to Lima Manufacturing Company to see for themselves and find the evidence they wanted. Charlotte said calmly, They know that I can make that kind of smart machine tool, so they think that my company will have it. Their purpose of appearing here is the most reasonable. However, in this case, long being speculation that there's a spy lurking around me is somewhat unfounded. Those photos were taken by the spy. If he's someone in my company, then it's impossible for him not to know that my company doesn't have that kind of smart machine tool. There's no need for the two German agents to come here. But they're here. Doesn't this prove that the spy isn't someone in my company? These were just speculations. As long as the spy's identity didn't surface, then any possibility was valid. Liang Xiao also saw Nina. Her face suddenly didn't look good. Why is she here? Charlotte moved closer to her ear. The two men beside her are German agents. Ah, Liang Xiao's mouth suddenly opened wide. She couldn't close it, and she became nervous. I'll explain it to you at night. Just pretend that you don't know anything, said Charlotte. And Liang Xiao obediently responded. For Liang Xiao, although she didn't know the whole truth of Charlotte's trip to Germany, she could guess a bit. Charlotte went to Germany, and after he came back, he made the world's most advanced smart machine tool. Shenzhou Industry Group also gave him 200 million. Now that the German agents came to the company, wasn't the nature of this matter obvious? Was there a need to waste time guessing? Charlotte, you see, I came uninvited and brought so many guests. You won't blame me, right? Huo walked over and greeted Charlotte first. Charlotte smiled and said, Not at all, Mayor Hu. You're doing this for my sake and for the sake of our company. You put in so much effort. How can I blame you? I can't even thank you enough. Okay, let's not be polite between us. Huo smiled from ear to ear. These businessmen are very interested in your automatic surfboards. Some of them are German businessmen. They contacted me last night and asked me to bring them here to take a look. They also told me not to tell you in advance. They want to see the real face of your company. I thought it was a good thing, so I took the initiative and agreed. Since they're here, you can bring them to take a look. Okay, I'll take them to see it right away. Charlotte said again, Xiao, you go do what you need to do. I'll handle things here. Liang Xiao responded again and went back to the office alone. After Liang Xiao entered the office, Anina walked to Charlotte's side and said in German, Lucas, is your nose okay? It's okay. Look, I've even taken off the gauze. Charlotte didn't bother to pretend that he didn't know German, so he directly spoke to Anina in German. The translator, Andreas, who was standing at the side, looked at Charlotte with his mouth agape. He didn't feel good. Yesterday, he still needed an interpreter to understand Anina's words, but in one night, Xia Lei could speak German so fluently. What the hell was this? Charlotte couldn't care less about how a translator felt. He said loudly, Ladies and gentlemen, please come with me. We'll start with the first workshop. If you have any questions, please ask. I'll definitely satisfy your requests. This was said in Chinese, and he said the same thing in German and English. The German Secret Service was already at their door. It was really unnecessary to pretend that he didn't know German. He really is an outstanding talent. He actually knows German and English, and he doesn't even need a translator. Amazing, a mainland businessman said. No wonder he can develop such an outstanding product. It's good to establish a cooperative relationship with such a person, another mainland businessman said. A large group of businessmen were talking about Charlotte's ability. In the business world, it was necessary to be in the limelight. If the boss of a company didn't have the slightest charm, the business definitely wouldn't be good. Charlotte walked to the first workshop with a large group of businessmen, but the two German Secret Service agents shifted their gaze to Charlotte's workshop. Unfortunately, the door of the workshop was closed, and they couldn't see anything. A German Secret Service agent walked to Anina's side and whispered something to her. Anina hesitated for a moment, but she finally nodded. Chapter 219. Every workshop in Lima Manufacturing Company was clean and tidy, and the workers at each position were in good order. Real businessmen looked at the production process, the quality of the parts, and so on. Only the two German agents paid attention to the machine tools and production equipment in Lima Manufacturing Company. Their purpose was obvious. They wanted to find evidence that Charlotte had stolen German technology, but they were disappointed. There were no particularly advanced machine tools in Lima Manufacturing Company, nor was there any equipment to process ultra-precision parts. The equipment in this factory could only meet the needs of ordinary civilian products. After visiting the existing 3 workshops, Charlotte brought the businessmen to the 4th workshop that was under construction, which was a comprehensive workshop built with the assistance of Shenzhou Industry Group. This workshop was also the largest workshop in Lima Manufacturing Company. It was larger than the original 3 workshops combined, and, of course, the equipment was more advanced. Bringing the businessmen to the workshop that was under construction was also a show of strength. Charlotte was happy to let these businessmen who had already placed orders or had the intention to cooperate see that Lima Manufacturing Company was gradually becoming stronger. The two German agents walked around the new workshop, looking carefully at all the machines in the workshop. In fact, Charlotte had long discovered that they had hidden pinhole cameras on them. From the moment they came in, they had been filming everything in Lima Manufacturing Company. He didn't care about this. If the two German agents wanted to film, then so be it. Anyway, there was nothing in Lima Manufacturing Company that they wanted. After visiting the new workshop, Charlotte proposed to sit in the conference room, and the businessmen agreed. After visiting Lima Manufacturing Company and seeing the quality of the automatic skateboard parts, some businessmen were ready to place orders. Just as Charlotte was about to take the businessmen to the conference room, Anina walked over, looking a little hesitant. "Lucas, Charlotte knew what she wanted, but he pretended not to know. "Anina, what can I do for you?" Anina glanced sideways at the two German agents standing at the side, bit the bullet, and said, "It's like this. You're a very outstanding mechanic, and I'm also a mechanic. I know you have a workshop. Can you show me around? I think you must have designed the automatic skateboard in your workshop, right? This fills me with curiosity." "No problem. I will take you to have a look." Charlotte agreed readily. Opening the door of the studio, Charlotte not only invited Nina in for a tour, but he also invited the businessmen in for a tour. The two German agents were naturally among them. The machine tools and welding machines in the workshop were all very ordinary things. There were no secrets to speak of. In addition to the big metal box, there were parts for 2 sniper rifles. But it was locked, so no one could see what was inside. The faces of the two German agents showed a disappointed look. Although they saw the large metal box, and the box was locked, they did not think that the metal box with only 1 cubic meter of space would contain a large intelligent machine tool. "Lucas, you're really amazing. You can actually design such a good product like the automatic skateboard in such an environment. You're really a genius mechanic." Anina wasn't stingy with her words of praise. In fact, she was also trying to cover up her guilty conscience. Charlotte smiled. "Thank you. Let's go to the conference room." Charlotte took the businessmen to the conference room again, but the following discussion was about business matters. The two German agents were the main reason why these businessmen came to visit Lima Manufacturing Company. They had their own purpose. Their purpose was not achieved, but they brought a lot of orders to Lima Manufacturing Company. This was probably something that the two German agents did not expect. At noon, Charlotte invited the businessmen who came to visit the company to a hotel near the company. It was inevitable to socialize in the business world. Foreign businessmen might not have such a habit, but in China, it was necessary. Many business deals in China were negotiated over the table. During the dinner, Liang Xiao showed very strong communication skills. She studied and worked in the United States, so her English was naturally not a problem. She greeted the English-speaking businessmen. Her witty and humorous conversation, coupled with her super beautiful face and figure, she easily won the favor of those businessmen. Charlotte's side was even more abnormal. Not only could he easily communicate with the businessmen who spoke German, but he could also easily communicate with the businessmen who spoke English. He even chatted with a businessman from France in French for a while. Some businessmen brought their female secretaries, and those female secretaries all looked at Charlotte with shining eyes. Sunny, handsome, self-made, modest, and knew a few foreign languages. These halos shone on Charlotte, so it was natural for the female secretaries to have some fantasies about him. Charlotte and Liang Xiao cooperated well. People with discerning eyes could also see that the two were a couple that people envied. Anina, on the other hand, had become a forgotten person. She secretly glanced at Xia Lei, her heart full of guilt. Occasionally, she would also look at Liang Xiao. At that time, the look in her eyes would become much more complicated. She had seen Charlotte's wife, Laura, but she knew that it was fake, which made her feel a glimmer of hope. But after seeing Liang Xiao, She found that the idea of being together with Charlotte in her heart was ridiculous because Liang Xiao and Charlotte were such a match. Liang Xiao was young and beautiful, and she also had a sexy figure, especially her pair of long legs. Even women couldn't help but like and envy her, let alone men. With a boyfriend like her, how could other women take Charlotte away from her? Dear, let's have a drink too. Liang Xiao looked at Xia Lei with a smile as she toasted the merchant. Okay, let's have a drink. Charlotte smiled and raised his glass. I want to have a cross-cup drink. Liang Xiao said playfully. Cross-cup, drink then. Charlotte was not embarrassed. He held Liang Xiao's arm and drank a glass of red wine. Liang Xiao was his woman, and sooner or later they would get married and have children. It was nothing to have a cross-cup drink. Liang Xiao also drank the red wine in her glass and smiled very sweetly. She intentionally glanced at Anina with a hint of complacency and warning in her eyes. My man, don't even think about it. This was probably the reason why she wanted to have a cross-cup drink with Charlotte on this occasion. This was a woman's declaration of sovereignty. Anina avoided Liang Xiao's eyes. She knew Liang Xiao's thoughts. She couldn't afford to offend them, but she could hide from them. Hu Ho said with a smile, Oh, Charlotte, you have such a successful career at such a young age, and you even got such an excellent girl like Miss Liang. You're really a winner in life. Charlotte was a little embarrassed and said, Mayor Hu, don't make fun of me. Without your help, I wouldn't be where I am today. Hu Ho actually didn't help much with the development of Lima Manufacturing Company, but Hu Ho liked to hear such words. He smiled and said, Let's not talk about this. It is my job to help you. You have today's achievements because of your own hard work. But you must inform me when you and Miss Liang get married. I will definitely have a drink at your wedding. Charlotte looked at Liang Xiao and said with a smile, I can't do this alone. I need someone to agree. Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Charlotte, but she couldn't help smiling. Of course, she was willing to marry Charlotte and become a real family. However, as a girl, she certainly wouldn't agree so easily. Wouldn't that be too easy for him? Hu Ho also smiled and said, I have been through it. I can see that I will definitely have a drink at your wedding. Charlotte, I have to remind you that this is not the way to propose. Haven't you seen romance dramas? Go and watch them and learn more. Liang Xiao followed and said, That's right. If you want me to marry you, you have to move me. I want the most romantic proposal in the world. If it isn't the most romantic proposal in the world, I won't marry you. Charlotte, the banquet was lively. This time, Charlotte didn't ask anyone to help him, but he got to know many businessmen from the mainland and abroad. This was very important. He needed to establish his own circle of contacts. Not long after the banquet started, Anina got up and walked to the washroom. Charlotte hesitated for a moment. Then he moved his head to Liang Xiao's ear and said to her, Xiao, do me a favor. Go to the washroom and pass this note to her. Remember, don't talk. She has a bug on her. Liang Xiao's little mouth slightly curled up. Charlotte bit the bullet and said, When I was in Germany, she helped me a lot. She is in trouble now, and she might lose her freedom for the rest of her life. If I don't help her, my conscience won't be at ease. Okay, I'll give it to her. Liang Xiao agreed. Charlotte pretended to reach out to touch her hand. Then he put a rolled note into her palm. Liang Xiao pretended to be shy and rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Then she got up and walked in the direction of the washroom. Charlotte secretly let out a sigh of relief in his heart. He could follow her to the washroom, but that would definitely attract the attention of the two German agents. It was very suitable for Liang Xiao to go, because in the eyes of the two German agents, Liang Xiao and Anina were a relationship between a real girlfriend and a third party. With this kind of relationship, and they were both women, it was already very restrained to not fight in front of each other. What else was there to talk about? Moreover, there was a language barrier between the two. Liang Xiao entered the women's washroom, and Anina just happened to walk out of the washroom. Their eyes met, and Anina suddenly froze for a moment. Liang Xiao then put a middle finger between her lips. This was an international sign language for silence. Anina was also a very smart woman. She originally wanted to say hello, but after seeing this sign language, she closed her mouth. However, she was very curious about Liang Xiao's intentions. Liang Xiao handed the note that Charlotte gave her to Anina. Anina hesitated for a moment, but still opened the note in front of Liang Xiao. The note was written in German. I am very clear about your current situation. You need help. If you believe me, please contact me without being monitored. I will try my best to help you. Anina's heart was moved, and she seemed to see Lucas in Germany again. However, in front of Liang Xiao, she endured it and didn't show anything. Liang Xiao also looked at the content of the note, but she couldn't understand it. She didn't stay for long, and after one look, she turned around and left. She secretly thought in her heart, tonight, I must use my means to make him personally tell me what is written on the note. She seemed to have thought of some powerful means. In the corner of her mouth quietly floated a trace of a smile. Chapter 220. The night wind blew on his cheeks, and the night view of the city was hazy, exuding a mysterious aura. It was unknown how many people were lost in this forest of steel bars, and it was unknown how many people were smiling or crying in this forest of steel bars. Although Xia Lei had grown up in this city, he still felt unfamiliar with it. There was a great distance between them. On the rooftop, Long Bing looked quietly into the distance, but she was thinking about something else. Do you know? When I confirmed that there was a spy from the United States by your side, my first guess was her. Who? Charlotte couldn't help but ask. Long Bing said, You know who I'm talking about, Liang Xiao. Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed. Are you kidding me? How could she be a spy from the United States? She's my boyfriend, and she wouldn't do anything to hurt me. Long Bing said lightly, I actually know that you helped Shinda Tianyin solve her problem. Her grandfather and her second uncle wanted to harm her, and they were all blood-related relatives. Her grandfather could hurt her, so why can't Liang Xiao hurt you? Humans are the most complicated animals, and there's nothing that humans can't do. Charlotte shook his head. Don't say any more. I don't believe it's her. Long Bing said, I understand how you feel, and fortunately, after our investigation these days, we have eliminated her as a suspect. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you about this. Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. Do you have a new suspect? No. We followed the 2 German agents and monitored their phone calls, but we didn't find anything. The danger is not over, so you have to be careful. I will be careful, and so will you. Long Bing's lips moved slightly. This seemed to be her smile. The last thing, you asked Liang Xiao to give Anina a note. You want to help her. Is that really your plan? Charlotte looked at Long Bing in surprise. How did you know I gave her a note? Also, how did you know the contents of the note? I've installed a camera in the ladies' washroom. Long Bing replied indifferently. Charlotte, tell me, are you really going to help her? Charlotte was silent for a moment. Yes, I really intend to help her. She's innocent. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't be in trouble. Then how do you plan to help her? Long Bing looked at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled bitterly. If the 2 German agents fail, they will definitely bring her back to Germany, and she may be imprisoned for life. This kind of thing involves too many things, and I can't think of a good way at the moment. Long Bing waved her hand, motioning Charlotte to come closer to her. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat, and he moved to Long Bing's side. Long Bing put her lips close to Charlotte's ear and whispered, When Anina contacted you. Charlotte couldn't help but laugh. You're really good. Why didn't I think of such a good way? Long Bing said, Your head is full of Liang Xiao. What else can you think of? Well, go back. If you stay with me for a long time, she will probably be jealous again. Charlotte smiled bitterly. She's actually very open-minded. She's not as jealous as you said, is she? Long Bing waved her hand and walked to the stairwell. She walked into the stairwell before turning back and saying, Hurry up with what I want. Charlotte said, Give me 2 more days. I'll definitely give it to you after 2 days. Long Bing came and went as she pleased. Her style had never changed. When going downstairs, Charlotte was still thinking about what Long Bing had just said. Human is the most complicated animal in the world, and there is nothing that human can't do. This sentence reminded him of Liang Xiao, and then he thought of his father. If that man is my father, Could it be that he doesn't want to see me because he has some difficulties? If he really has difficulties, what kind of difficulties will make him abandon me and my sister? Charlotte's heart was full of memories and bitterness. Even his father was like this, not to mention others. If Long Bing hadn't ruled out Liang Xiao's suspicions, and she was indeed the mysterious spy from the United States, would she have hurt him and left him with the reason that she had no other choice? This question flashed in his heart, but Charlotte didn't dare to think too deeply about it. As soon as Charlotte walked to the door, it opened automatically. Liang Xiao stuck her head out from the door with a mischievous smile on her face. I saw her leave, but I didn't dare say hello to her. Liang Xiao said. Charlotte put away his chaotic thoughts and said with a smile, "She's not a tiger. Why are you afraid of her?" Liang Xiao dragged Charlotte into the door and hugged Charlotte's waist. "Did you forget? She shot and killed 3 people at our company's construction site, and she didn't even bat an eyelid. Who wouldn't be afraid of such a person?" Charlotte lightly patted her, but, "You're a woman who practices martial arts, but you only have this little courage?" Liang Xiao closed the door with her feet and snuggled into Charlotte's arms. "I used to be very bold, but ever since I followed you, I've shrunk. You have to protect me. Protect me for the rest of your life." The soft words of love dispelled the negative things in Charlotte's heart. His heart was warm, and so was his lower abdomen. He hugged Liang Xiao by the waist and walked to her room. Liang Zhengchun stayed the night at the boxing dojo, and this home became a small world for the two of them. They could do anything they wanted to do. They kissed passionately along the way, and their clothes fell to the ground piece by piece. "What did you write on the note?" At the crucial moment, when Charlotte was about to, Liang Xiao blocked herself. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "It was just to let her contact me without being monitored, and then I'll help her. That's all." "What did you think I would write?" "I'm asking you because I'm nervous." Liang Xiao said coquettishly. "Do you need my help?" "No, Long Bing will help me." Charlotte was very anxious. Why did she have so many questions at this time? Liang Xiao chuckled. She let go of her hand, and there was a Durex in her palm. She said playfully, "Do you want to wear it yourself? Or do you want me to help you? Can I not wear it?" "No, we're not married yet. What if I get pregnant?" Liang Xiao's cheeks blushed as she said this. "Then you wear it for me." Charlotte pouted like an angry child. "You lazy bum." Liang Xiao bit Charlotte's ear. "But you can wear it later." Charlotte immediately smiled, and he couldn't wait to suppress it. After some lingering, the passion subsided, and what was left was satisfaction, happiness, and indescribable peace. This feeling was really very comfortable. "I'm going to throw it away. Wait for me. Don't peek, you little lazy pig." Liang Xiao climbed up from Charlotte's body. Charlotte said gently, "You handle it every time. This time I'll do it. This kind of thing should be done by me. You're tired. Rest. I'll go. Be obedient and don't argue." Liang Xiao left the warm bed, stepped on the slippers, and walked to the bathroom with the dirty things in her hands. Charlotte looked at her graceful back, and his heart was filled with happiness. She's so nice. When Xiao Shui comes back in a few days, I'll discuss with her and find a chance to propose to her. Xiao Shui will definitely like her sister-in-law, right? In the bathroom, Liang Xiao put the plastic box into a plastic box and then put the plastic box in her cosmetics box. She looked at the makeup box for a while and then turned to leave the bathroom. Charlotte opened the quilt early and said with concern, "Come in quickly. Don't catch a cold." Liang Xiao got under the quilt and hugged Charlotte tightly. "Dear, do you think we'll take care of a son or a daughter in the future?" Charlotte thought for a moment. "A son has a son, and a daughter has a daughter. Let's have a son and a daughter, okay? You want to?" "Yes, it's good to have a son and a daughter. Don't you want one?" "I want to, but it's so painful. It's not enough to hurt once, and you have to hurt a second time. You're not pregnant, of course you want one." Liang Xiao pouted. "Can't you just have a boy and a girl at once?" "That's easy for you to say. How can it be so coincidental to have two at once, a boy and a girl? Why don't you show me one?" Charlotte turned over and pressed her under his body and said with a smile, "I'll show you now. You want more? You're such an insatiable little cat." Liang Xiao blushed. Charlotte pulled up the quilt. The next morning, Charlotte received a call from Anina. She was using a phone from the mainland of China, and it was an unknown number. I borrowed the phone, and I don't have much time. They said I'm useless, and they're sending me to the United States for investigation. They're sending me to the airport in an hour, and I'm at the hotel you came to before. Help me, Lucas. Anina's voice was anxious. Don't worry, I'll be right there. When the time comes, you'll do whatever I tell you to do. Trust me, you'll be fine. Charlotte comforted her. I trust you. I'll wait for you. Anina hung up the phone. Charlotte put it away and walked out the door. Xiao, Anina called. I need to go. Liang Xiao walked out of the kitchen. Have breakfast before you go. Charlotte didn't have time to eat breakfast. I'm not eating. I don't have time. I'll contact Long Bing on the way, and you don't have to worry with her around. How can I not worry? Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Be careful. Charlotte nodded and quickly walked out the door. Liang Xiao took off her apron and went into her room. She spaced out in the room for a while before going into the bathroom. The makeup box was lying quietly on the glass counter under the sink. She took out the makeup box and opened it, and a white cloud of cold air came out of it. The dirty thing that Xia Lei had used before had already been frozen into a small piece of ice. Looking at it, the scene of her being intimate with Xia Lei quietly surfaced in her mind, but the corner of her mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Chapter 221. Haiju International Hotel, Room 508. Marcus, Ralph, why did you book the tickets to the U.S. and not Germany? I don't want to go to the U.S. You have no right to hand me over to the U.S. Anina was agitated and angry. The Marcus and Ralph she mentioned were the German agents who brought her China. Marcus sneered. It's useless. We don't need to explain to you. Anina lost control of her emotions. I want a lawyer. If I'm guilty, it can only be decided by the judge and jury. You can't, and you don't have a right. Ralph, who was smoking on the sofa, pressed the cigarette but into the ashtray and said fiercely, What are you arguing about? Do you think your crime is drunk driving or swearing? You committed treason. You don't have the right to apply for a lawyer. Then why did you bring me to the U.S.? Anina said angrily, I'm a German. Even if I'm guilty, I want to serve my sentence in a German prison. Ralph chuckled. Is there something wrong with your brain? We share intelligence with the U.S. China's spies stole our German technology secrets. This is also the intelligence given to us by our U.S. counterparts. We don't have the ability to carry out a bigger operation in China. We can only hand you over to the U.S. intelligence agency. They will investigate you and maybe ask for your cooperation. Who gave you the intelligence? Anina asked. Ralph looked at Anina warily. You asked too many questions. I'm just curious. Anina said, I guess it must be the CIA, right? CIA. Maybe. This is not something you need to worry about. Someone will take care of you. Marcus emphasized the word take care as if he was implying something else. Anina suddenly became agitated again. I know it must be the CIA. I've seen them in the movies. They could do anything. I don't want to go to the U.S. I don't want to go. Shut up. Marcus pushed Anina to the ground with a palm and said fiercely, You better behave yourself. I'll give you 5 minutes to pack up and follow us to the airport. Falling heavily onto the ground, Anina calmed down. She stopped making a ruckus and got up from the ground. 5 minutes isn't enough. I want to take a shower. You really have a lot of demands, no way. Marcus flatly refused. Anina said, We're all Germans, and you know I'm innocent. Why are you doing this to me? When I go to America, they will definitely lock me up. I want to take a shower before that. Is that too much to ask? Ralph said, Marcus, forget it. Let her take a bath. We still have plenty of time. Marcus nodded. Hurry up. Anina spread her hands. How am I supposed to take off my clothes when you guys are here? You guys guard the door. This is the 6th floor. Do you think I can escape by jumping off the building? Show me the respect I deserve, since we are both Germanic. Ralph and Marcus looked at each other and then left room 508. Anina took off her clothes and went into the bathroom. Marcus and Ralph stood guard at the door. We should also install a camera in the bathroom. Marcus had a smirk on his face. She has a great figure, doesn't she? Ralph said. The surveillance cameras and bugs in the room have been removed. We can't leave any traces. In fact, she's quite pitiful. Let's not make things difficult for her. Speaking of this, he sighed. Without a trial, without a lawyer, I don't know what those guys from the CIA will do to her. Marcus said, that's not something we should worry about. We're just following orders. That guy didn't show up at all. He said that the thing that Xia Lei stole is in China's Shenzhou industrial group. Unfortunately, that place is under military control, and we can't get in at all. Otherwise, we would definitely be able to find the evidence. Ralph was unwilling to give up. Marcus said, that guy is from the CIA. He's very valuable. He won't expose himself easily. He must have smelled danger. So he asked us to send Anina to the United States. I'm actually happy to do this. I always feel restless when carrying out missions in a place like China. Ralph smiled bitterly. Me too. You have to know that China is the only country that has the strength to fight against the United States other than Russia. This country is ancient and mysterious. I don't like this feeling. After bringing Anina to America, I want to take a vacation and relax in America. Marcus smiled. Call me if you're going to a nightclub. American girls are passionate and unrestrained. Nightclubs are the best place to pick up girls. The two men's topic shifted to the woman, and they were chatting with great interest. A middle-aged woman pushed a cleaning cart and walked over. She didn't say anything and reached out to open the door. Marcus blocked the middle-aged woman and said in broken Chinese, "No." The middle-aged woman hit Marcus's hand and said bluntly, "Get out of the way. You've already checked out. I have to clean up the room quickly, or I'll be fired." What did she say? Ralph was confused. Marcus shook his head. I don't know. The Mandarin of the two German agents was only at the level of good morning, no, good evening, how much is it, and so on. It was obviously impossible for them to understand the woman's words. The woman glared at Marcus. Get out of the way. I'm going in to clean the room. What's wrong with you two foreigners? You've checked out, and you're still occupying the room. Do you believe I won't call the police? Her voice was loud and attracted the attention of the two security guards. Forget it. Let her in. Ralph was afraid of getting into trouble. They're both women anyway. Marcus also saw the two hotel security guards walking over. He was also worried that it would cause unnecessary trouble. After hearing Ralph's words, he immediately stepped aside. The woman opened the door and pushed the cleaning cart in. She kept muttering, but Marcus and Ralph couldn't understand what she was saying. Just as she entered, Ralph reached out and closed the door. The two security guards retreated. After the two security guards left, Ralph opened the door again. The woman was making the bed. When she saw Ralph opening the door and looking at her, she glared at him fiercely and muttered something. This time, Ralph didn't close the door. Instead, he left the door ajar so that he and Marcus could observe the woman's every move. The woman didn't do anything unusual. After she made the bed, she was busy cleaning. The sound of water splashing could be heard from the bathroom. Everything was normal. Marcus and Ralph had been watching the Annie the whole time, monitoring her every move. The only thing that the two German agents couldn't control was the bathroom. A minute ago, when a woman pushed the cleaning cart into the room and Ramos closed the door to avoid the two security guards, a man climbed out from the storage space under the cleaning cart and quickly entered the bathroom. When the two security guards retreated and Ralph opened the door again, he and Marcus could only see the woman who was busy cleaning the room. In the bathroom, when Anina, who was dressed in white, saw the familiar face, she was so excited that she covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. The man who slipped into the bathroom was none other than Charlotte. There was no conversation, just a look at each other. Anina suddenly opened her arms and hugged Xia Lei tightly. She could no longer control the tears in her blue eyes, and they flowed down like a waterfall. She cried silently because she was touched. Her Lucas didn't forget her. In her moment of crisis, he came back and was with her. She didn't have a single piece of cloth on her, and the most beautiful and mysterious scenery was completely exposed. Every inch of her skin was wet and smooth. Being hugged by her like this, Charlotte felt like he was being hugged by a mermaid. It was a wonderful feeling, but Charlotte didn't dare to waste another second. He whispered in her ear, We don't have much time. Listen carefully and do what I say. I'll let you stay in China. Stay in China? Anina's voice was full of sadness. What can I do? Charlotte said. We'll discuss this later. The most important thing now is to let you stay. If you were sent to the United States, I can't help you anymore. Do you understand what I mean? Anina bit her lip and nodded gently. I understand. I'm willing to stay in China. I'll be very happy to see you in China. These words made Charlotte feel a little sad and guilty. Our plan is to carry out at the airport, but before that, you have to eat this. What? Charlotte let go of Anina and took out 2 condoms from his trouser pocket. Seeing the condoms in Charlotte's hand, Anina's expression suddenly became unnatural. She blushed, and her voice was a little strange. No, not now. Lucas, I promise you, after today, you can do it at any time. I don't care if you have a girlfriend. Really, I can satisfy all your needs. But now there are 2 German agents outside, and they will find us. Also, you have to use 2. What are you thinking about? Charlotte interrupted her and took out a small plastic bag from his pocket. The plastic bag contained about 2 ounces of white powder. Anina was stunned for a moment and said awkwardly, What is this? Charlotte said, flour. Then he opened the plastic bag, tore open the packaging of the condoms, and stuffed the flour into the condoms. You want me to eat flour? Anina's mind was in a mess. And it's in a condom? Charlotte said, The condoms contain flour, but when you go through the airport security, it will become drugs. According to our country's law, the amount you carry will be sentenced to death. Anina's face suddenly turned pale. Charlotte looked at her. Believe me, I won't harm you. You have to do as I say and eat it. Then, when you're being interrogated, you have to ask for a glass of water from the police officer who is interrogating you. After you drink that glass of water, you will be in great pain, and we will say that you died suddenly because the condom broke. In this case, the 2 agents won't dare to say that they know you. Do you understand? Anina nodded. Charlotte tied a condom in a dead knot and said, Open your mouth and eat it. Anina raised her head and opened her mouth wide. Xiaolei put the condom filled with flour into her mouth, but his eyes were fixed on Anina's breasts. Western girl's breasts were huge. Anina swallowed the condom with flour with difficulty. Her throat was uncomfortable, so she leaned over the sink and poured tap water in her mouth to help the condom slide into her stomach. Her voluptuous buttocks perked up along with her posture. The perfect dolphin shape, coupled with a pair of long legs unique to Western women, and the faintly revealed secret scenery, made Charlotte's mouth go dry. He wasn't a playboy, but he was definitely a normal man. If a normal man didn't have any reaction in the face of such a scene, then he should really see a male specialist. After swallowing the first condom, she returned to Charlotte, opened her mouth, and swallowed the second condom. This time, she didn't drink water. After swallowing the second condom, she suddenly hugged Charlotte and kissed his lips fiercely. The bathroom door was suddenly pushed open, and an auntie pushing a cleaning cart appeared at the door. The cleaning cart blocked the doorway, and the dirty fabric underneath was lifted. Anina looked at the auntie nervously and let go of Charlotte. Charlotte said, It's okay, it's one of us. Remember what I said? You must drink water. Anina nodded. Charlotte bent down and went into the storage space of the cleaning cart. The auntie said in a displeased tone, Miss, how long do you want to shower? You can't shower in the room after checking out. As she spoke, she pushed the cleaning cart away from the door, picked up the mop, and was about to mop the bathroom floor. Anina wrapped a towel around herself and walked out of the bathroom. Marcus and Ralph looked at the dehydrated Anina with greedy eyes. Anina said, Aren't we in a hurry? How can I get dressed if you look at me? Marcus and Ralph looked at each other, and Ralph reached out and closed the door. Chapter 222. A taxi stopped at the roadside of the airport. The door opened, and Marcus got out first. He then opened the back door and waited for Anina to get out. Ralph paid the fare and was the last to get out. The 2 of them stood on Anina's left and right sides, and Anina's every move was under their control. In a black car in the airport parking lot, Long Bing and Charlotte were staring at Ralph, Marcus, and Anina, who were walking to the airport's waiting hall. Also in the car was Long Bing's subordinate, Kujia. Marcus and Ralph felt that Anina was under their control, but they didn't know that their every move was also under someone else's control. Just as Marcus and Ralph walked into the waiting hall with Anina, Long Bing said, Kujia, go in and keep an eye on them. Report to me immediately if anything happens. Yes. Kujia responded, got out of the car, and walked to the waiting hall. Long Bing looked at Charlotte. Have you thought about how to help her? Charlotte said, I want her to help me. She's a very good advanced mechanic. She can even dismantle and repair the German Leopard 2 tank. She is very good. Long Bing shook her head. I knew you would have this idea, but I have to tell you that she can't show her face for at least a year, let alone work in your company. Do you understand what I mean? Charlotte smiled bitterly, but he didn't say anything. He actually understood what Long Bing meant. Anina was acting out a death scene. How could a dead person work at Lima Manufacturing Company? More importantly, she was wanted by the CIA. She suddenly died at the airport in China, and the CIA would definitely send people to investigate. If someone saw the dead Anina working at Lima Manufacturing Company, it would be disastrous. Long Bing sighed. I actually feel that she is quite pitiful, mainly because she met you. Charlotte rolled his eyes at her. Don't say that, okay? I knew I owed her, but wasn't that because I had to complete the mission? That is something that is beneficial to the country and the people. What does it matter if I personally owe her? I'll make it up to her later. But before that, I want you to take good care of her. Only you can do it. Don't worry, Long Bing said. Just then, Kujia's voice came through the communicator. Chief, they're about to pass through the security checkpoint. In the car, Long Bing and Charlotte ended their conversation and quietly waited for the development of the matter. At the airport security checkpoint, Marcus was the first to pass through the security checkpoint. There was no problem with his documents and his luggage. Go, Ralph said to Anina. Don't make trouble. You know it's useless even if you do. If you cooperate with us, we will also help you. Anina sneered. Will you help me? Yes, I know. You are helping me go to hell. Ralph pushed Anina lightly. Don't talk nonsense. Anina walked to the security checkpoint. At that moment, there was no Germany in her heart, nor any Germanic compatriots. There was only her parents and Charlotte. Charlotte's face appeared in her mind, and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Stay in China? If she could be with the person she liked, why not? Ralph and Marcus looked at each other. From their point of view, based on their understanding of their counterparts in the United States, Anina passing through the security checkpoint was tantamount to crossing the threshold of hell. However, they didn't have the slightest bit of pity in their hearts. If a professional agent had sympathy, then he wasn't a qualified agent. The airport security personnel waved to Anina and signaled her to hurry up. Anina quickened her steps and stood at the security checkpoint where the entire body could be seen through. At that moment, the alarm sounded. There's something in her stomach. Take her down. The security personnel operating the instrument sounded very strict. 2 airport police officers rushed over and immediately blocked Anina, who was standing at the security checkpoint. In the next second, the 2 airport police officers restrained her. What's going on? Marcus's expression suddenly changed. However, no one answered his question. The 2 airport police officers held Anina and walked to the police station. Marcus, who had passed through the security checkpoint first, followed them. He caught up with the 2 police officers and said angrily, What are you doing? She's German. Why are you arresting her? One of the police officers looked back at Marcus and said in English, Sir, what did you say? Please speak English. Marcus followed in English and said, Why are you arresting her? The police officer who spoke to him said, There's illegal drugs hidden in her stomach. Why are you so concerned about her? Who are you to her? With one sentence, Marcus's expression changed again. He was very clear about the crime of carrying drugs through the security checkpoint in China. If it reached a certain level, it would be a death sentence. No one could save her. Under such circumstances, how could he dare to make a statement? What's your relationship? The police officer asked again in English. Marcus shook his head. We're not related. It's just that we're both Germans. We're members of a business delegation. I'm just concerned about her. We're not related. So that's how it is. We're a country ruled by law. Anyone who breaks the law will be dealt with according to our country's laws. You can contact your consulate, but don't interfere with our law enforcement." The police officer left after saying that. At this moment, Ralph passed through the security checkpoint and walked over. He said in a low voice, "D***a minute. I heard from the security officer that there were 2 condoms with powdered substances hidden in her stomach. She's been under our surveillance all this time. Where did she get those things from? Could it be the cleaner?" Marcus said. "Have you forgotten? The cleaner is also under our surveillance. I know you want to say that you closed the door, but it was only 3 to 5 seconds. How could she have given those things to Anina? D***a minute. This must be Charlotte's doing," Ralph said angrily. "He must be using this method to keep Anina and prevent the CIA from getting involved. She's a very important witness. I'll go over and take a look. Contact our consulate immediately and ask them to send someone over." Marcus made a prompt decision. Ralph nodded his head and took out his phone to make a call. Marcus walked over to the police station and stood at the door to watch the airport police take Anina's statement. "Do you speak English?" The police officer who was taking Anina's statement asked in English. Anina looked very nervous, but she still nodded her head. She looked up at Marcus, who was standing at the door. Marcus was looking at her with a sinister gaze. She seemed to be a little guilty and avoided Marcus's gaze. "All right, let me ask you. There were 2 condoms in your stomach. What was in the condoms?" The police officer who was taking the statement asked. Anina wanted to say something, but stopped. She bit her lip and looked uneasy. The police officer who was taking the statement snorted. "If you don't want to say it, I'll say it for you. There was heroin hidden in your stomach, and it triggered our security equipment. You're really daring to bring such things through the security checkpoint. Tell me, do you have accomplices?" Anina looked up at the police officer who was standing at the door again. At this moment, Marcus was nervous. He was afraid that Anina would say that he was her accomplice. If that was the case, he would probably be arrested too. However, he was not afraid that he would be charged with drug possession in China. It was just that it would be very troublesome for the Germans to bail him and Ralph back. Anina shook her head. "I don't have accomplices. Where did you get the drugs?" The police officer who was taking the statement asked. Anina said, "I bought them on the black market." "Who did you buy them from?" "From..." Anina shook her head again. "I don't remember. Give me a glass of water. I want to drink water." The police officer who was taking the statement said to her, "Give her a glass of water." Another police officer walked to the water dispenser, opened the cabinet below, and took out a paper cup. Then he poured a glass of water and handed it to Anina. "You don't have to be nervous. Our country's laws are very humane. As long as you plead guilty and have a good performance, you will be given a light sentence. So, you must take the initiative to confess your accomplice and the seller on our side," the police officer who was taking the statement said. Anina nodded, but she didn't say anything. She just drank the glass of water. At this time, Ralph came over and whispered in Marcus' ear, "I have contacted the consulate. They will be here soon." He sneered. "They won't think that they can keep Anina with this trick. We in the CIA will put pressure on China." Marcus looked slightly relieved. "That's good. Otherwise, we won't be able to report to them." In the police room, Anina finished drinking the glass of water and was silent for a moment. Suddenly, she raised her hand and pointed to Marcus, who was standing at the door. "My boss is him. His name is Marcus. He was the one who let me carry the drugs. And his name is Ralph. He is also involved." The 2 police officers looked at Marcus and Ralph at the same time. Marcus panicked and shouted angrily, "You bitch! What nonsense are you talking about?" But at this moment, Anina suddenly fell from the chair. She was twitching all over and foaming at the mouth. The situation was extremely dangerous. "Oh no!" The police officer who was taking the statement stood up. "The condom in her stomach must have broken. Call the ambulance." The police officer who poured water for Anina used the landline on the desk to call the ambulance. Marcus and Ralph couldn't hold it in any longer. The 2 of them quickly walked into the police room. The police officer who was taking the statement shouted, "Stop! Don't move! You are under arrest." Marcus ignored the police officer's warning. He squatted beside Anina and used his hand to pry open Anina's eyelids to look at her pupils. Anina's pupils were dilated. He then touched Anina's carotid artery with his hand. This time his heart went cold because Anina had no pulse. A pistol was suddenly pressed against Marcus' head. It was the police officer who was taking the statement. His eyes were cold. "You bastard. What do you think this place is? Get down and put your hands on your head." Marcus said loudly, "I'm a German police officer. What do you want?" The police officer who was taking the statement kicked Marcus to the ground. Then he took advantage of the situation and knelt on Marcus's back, instantly suppressing Marcus. Ralph was stunned for a moment. He didn't resist and obediently lay on the ground, and he put his hands on his head. A few minutes later, several paramedics entered the police room. After checking, they declared Anina dead in public and took the body away. The people from the German consulate arrived a step later, but their first priority was to save 2 people, not a dead person. Chapter 223. Anina woke up slowly and found herself in a room. It was an unfamiliar room. The furniture and decorations in the room were very old, in the style of the 90s in China. Through the window, she saw a forest. The leaves on the trees were almost all gone, and there was a mountain in the distance. The whole scene looked very bleak. At this moment, the door of the room opened, and Charlotte walked in. "Lucas!" Anina suddenly became excited. She wanted to get up from the bed, but after propping her body up slightly, she lay back down. Her body was soft, powerless, and very weak. Charlotte walked to the side of the bed. "Lie down and don't move. You'll be fine after 2 days of rest." "What's wrong with me?" Anina asked, puzzled. Charlotte said with a smile, "Did you forget the glass of water you drank? That glass of water has a drug that can make people fake death. It can stop your heart, but as long as you're rescued in time, you'll live again." "What about Marcus and Ralph?" Anina thought of her fierce compatriot. Charlotte said, "They've been detained. Your consulate personnel are negotiating with the police here." "Will they be sentenced?" Charlotte shook his head. "No, we'll let them go after making things difficult for them. Our goal is to save you, not to frame 2 German agents for drug possession." "What if they want my body?" Charlotte smiled. "Then they'll get the ashes. We've already prepared the ashes of a woman similar in age to you. We've taken some of your hair and mixed it with the ashes. The powder has your DNA in it. How can it identify you? Of course, there will definitely be flaws, but as long as we insist that it's your ashes, they can't do anything." Only then did Anina completely relax. She looked at Charlotte quietly, and even her eyes were smiling. Charlotte said, "We'll give you a new identity. You can start your new life here. I want to work at your company. I'm a mechanic like you," Anina said. "Not now. You have to disappear for a while. You know what I mean. This period of time is very sensitive. If someone sees you working at my company, it won't be a good thing." Charlotte said, "Then what can I do? I don't want to stay here forever. This is only a temporary residence. After your body recovers, Longbing will arrange everything for you." Longbing? This was the first time Anina had heard of Longbing's name. Xiaolei smiled. "It's the Laura you've met before. Your wife." Anina blurted out, but then she realized something. "I remember now. She's not your wife. You're not married at all. That Miss Liang is your girlfriend, right?" Charlotte nodded. "Do you love her?" "Love." Charlotte felt it was awkward to talk about such a topic. He said. Anina interrupted Charlotte's words. "Hug me." Charlotte was stunned for a moment. He wanted to refuse, but when he thought that she was in such a bad situation because of him, he couldn't bear to refuse. After hesitating for a moment, he reached out to hug her, but he found that a person sitting on the bed couldn't hug a person lying on the bed. He shrugged. "I can't hug you." Anina said, "You can lie on the bed. Can't you hug me?" "Charlotte, just a hug. I need your comfort. I can't make your fiancé a cuckold like this, right?" Anina teased. It could be seen that her mood was much better. Charlotte smiled bitterly. He braced himself and went to the bed. He lay side by side with Anina, and then stretched out an arm for Anina to use as a pillow. Anina lay quietly in the crook of Xiaolei's arm. Neither of them spoke. Charlotte thought that lying on the same bed with Anina and hugging her would be a very awkward feeling, but strangely, he didn't. Instead, he felt very peaceful. Anina might be too weak, but she quickly fell asleep. Half an hour later, Charlotte quietly got out of bed and left the room. When he went out, he looked back at her. She was sleeping peacefully with a faint smile on her lips. He wondered what kind of good dream she was having. As soon as he went out, Charlotte saw Long Bing standing in the yard. This place was actually just a small farmyard. No matter how you looked at it, it was inconspicuous. Long Bing looked at Charlotte strangely and didn't say anything. However, Charlotte had his own interpretation. He said awkwardly, "It's not what you think. She needs comfort the most right now. Long Bing said lightly, "You just went to bed with her and slept with her. Don't worry, I will keep it a secret for you. Liang Xiao won't know about this." Charlotte changed the topic. "Who will take care of her these days?" Long Bing said, "Don't worry. I will arrange for someone to take care of her. Don't worry in the future. I will let her stay in our 101 innings logistics department for a while." Charlotte was surprised. "You don't want her to join 101 innings, do you? She's just an ordinary mechanic. She is not made to be a secret agent." Long Bing said, "No secret agent is born. You are an example. Also, didn't you say that she is a very good mechanic? She can even dismantle and repair Germany's most advanced Leopard 2 tank. Krupp Mark Machinery Manufacturing Company is actually a German military enterprise. She must know a lot of valuable things. We spent so much effort and took such a big risk to save her. She has to give us something in return, right?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Well, you can arrange it. Send me back now. I am in a hurry to modify your gun." Long Bing looked at the darkening sky. "Should I send you back to the Liang family or your house?" "The company." Charlotte rolled his eyes at her. "I will work overtime tonight to modify your gun." Long Bing smiled faintly and didn't say anything. She turned around and went to get the car. The car drove out of the mountains and entered the city. It took more than an hour to reach Lima Manufacturing Company. It was already early winter. The sky darkened earlier. When the two arrived at the company, it was already dark. In Xiao Lei's workshop, Long Bing looked at the parts of the sniper rifle that Xiao Lei had modified and was very satisfied. She didn't stay long. She looked at the gun and chatted with Charlotte for a while before driving away. Xiao Lei was alone in the workshop modifying the gun. He busied himself until midnight before leaving the workshop. Based on the current progress, he could give Long Bing a modified version of the sniper rifle that was far better than the AS-50 in less than 3 days. Sitting in the driver's seat of the BMW M6, Charlotte's first thought was to drive to Liang Xiao's house. But when the car drove out of the factory, he changed his mind. It wasn't impossible for him to drive to the Liang family, but it would be early in the morning. It wasn't convenient. Another reason was that during this period of time, when he was with Liang Xiao, he had overdone it in that aspect. His waist was often sore. Men were iron and women were furnaces. There had always been only iron that could be melted. How could there be a furnace that could be melted by molten iron? Forget it. Let's rest for a day. I'll go home and have a good sleep. Charlotte drove home. He was sure that if he went to Liang Xiao's place at this time, as long as Liang Xiao rubbed his body a few times and said a few teasing words, he wouldn't be able to resist doing that kind of love thing with her. She often did that, and he couldn't stand her anymore. Back in the community, after parking the car, Charlotte glanced at the balcony of Jiang Rui's home. There was no light in Jiang Rui's home, and Jiang Rui didn't appear on the balcony. What am I thinking? It's already early in the morning. I'm afraid she has already fallen asleep. Charlotte retracted his gaze and walked to the stairwell. On the second floor, before he opened the door, there was a sudden sound of footsteps and slippers coming from the house. Then there was a light coming from the crack of the door. Who would be at home? Charlotte was shocked. When he wanted to use his X-ray vision to see the situation in the house, the door suddenly opened. It was actually Xia Shui who appeared behind the door. Charlotte said with surprise, "Xiao Shui, when did you come back? Aren't you going to come back in a few days?" Charlotte yawned and said lazily, "The school is already on holiday, so I came back early. The plane arrived at the airport at 10 o'clock in the evening, and I just came home. If you didn't come back, I would have called you." Charlotte frowned. In the future, You have to call me first if there is such a thing. You flew back from the capital alone. I'm very worried about you. Xia Shui smiled. Brother, I am an adult. I know what I'm doing. You are usually busy enough. Don't worry about me anymore. Come in. Don't stand at the door and talk. You will disturb the neighbors. Charlotte entered the door. He wanted to say a few words to her, but he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. Although Xia Shui had long passed the rebellious period of youth, girls at her age would also be rebellious. She had her own thoughts and opinions, and she wouldn't listen to her brother for everything. She wouldn't listen even if he said it, so why bother to say it? Charlotte wasn't particularly worried about Xia Shui's safety because Long Bing said that someone was specifically responsible for protecting her. When Xia Shui went home from school, the person who secretly protected her would definitely take action. Brother, are you hungry? I will make instant noodles for you. Xia Shui said, I'm not hungry. I ate a boxed lunch at the company. Charlotte walked to the balcony. He was very curious. He didn't know if the person who secretly protected Xia Shui would be nearby at this time. If they were, he would like to see who was protecting Xia Shui. Then I will make a bowl myself. I am hungry. Xia Shui went to the kitchen. She felt hungry, so she got up. Then she saw Charlotte driving back from the kitchen window, so she came to open the door. Charlotte walked to the balcony, and his eyes quickly scanned all the corners that he could see. Everything in the community was normal. There was no one walking in the early hours of the morning, but there were a few cats chasing and playing with each other. Charlotte's eyes moved outside the wall of the community, and a woman in a black trench coat suddenly came into his sight. His left eye twitched slightly, and the woman's blurred face suddenly became clear. With this look, he was suddenly stunned. He saw Tang Yuyan. Tang Yuyan was also looking in the direction of the balcony. She could probably see Charlotte because there was a light behind Charlotte. It would be a very conspicuous existence standing on the high balcony. However, she definitely couldn't see Charlotte's face clearly. How could it be her? Charlotte was surprised. It can't be her, right? Tang Yuyan seemed to notice that Charlotte was looking at her. She turned and left, but her speed wasn't fast. She was like a passing woman with a story. Chapter 224. Early the next morning, Charlotte also took Xia Shui to Lima Manufacturing Company. When they got off the car, Charlotte said to Xia Shui, You go around and look around. Tell me what you think you can do. You have to do something during this holiday and learn some real skills. Xia Shui said with a smile, Brother, will you give me a salary? Charlotte said seriously, Of course, I will give you a salary. How much others get, I will give you. Xia Shui curled her mouth and looked a little dissatisfied, but she quickly smiled again. Brother, if Dad and Mom know about it, they will be proud of you. I'm also proud of you. When I graduate from college, I will come to your company to help you. If you don't help me, who will you help? Xiaolei urged, Go quickly. Take a look and think it over. Once you've made up your mind, I won't change your position. Okay, I'm going to take a look. Xia Shui ran to the workshop happily. The company was her brother's. She worked in Lima Manufacturing Company during the winter vacation just to exercise. The salary was actually symbolic. When she needed money in the future, she could ask Charlotte for millions. Could Charlotte not give it? Charlotte came to the office. Liang Xiao hadn't come yet. He sat at his desk and thought about what happened in the early hours of this morning. Why is Tang Yuyan here? Is she really the person that Long Bing said? Is she the goddaughter of CEO? Sure. Is she also the person who protects little Shui? It doesn't seem like it. Long Bing said that someone from another department is in charge. She also said that the person is from 101 innings. If Tang Yuyan is from 101 innings, then she is not the person who secretly protects little Shui. However, if it is not Tang Yuyan, why did she appear near my house? If it is not Tang Yuyan who is secretly protecting little Shui, then who is protecting little Shui? This pile of questions was like a tangled mess in Charlotte's mind, making him unable to calm down. Robbery! Liang Xiao suddenly came in and shouted. All the questions in Charlotte's head were blown away by her. He looked at her and said with a smile, Do you look like a robber? Why not? Liang Xiao walked over leisurely and grabbed Charlotte's collar before sitting on Charlotte's lap. I'm a robber who robs you of money and sex. Now that you've fallen into my hands, you can't escape even if you want to. Charlotte kissed her. I've never thought of running away. I'll let you rob and rape me for the rest of your life. Okay? Liang Xiao smiled sweetly, intentionally or unintentionally squeezing a certain place, and her eyes also released a seductive meaning. Charlotte soon couldn't stand it and had a reaction, but he suddenly remembered something and quickly said, You get up. My sister is here. It's not good to be seen by her. Xia Shui is here? Liang Xiao then got up from Charlotte's body. She looked at the door, but she didn't see Xia Shui. Charlotte said, I want her to go to the workshop and experience the work of ordinary workers. I want her to train in the company, experience life, and learn some real skills. You want her to work in the workshop? Liang Xiao then said, No. How could such a delicate girl go to that kind of place? Let her follow me and be my assistant. I can teach her some knowledge of business management and capital operation. This knowledge is much better than what she learned in the workshop. Charlotte thought for a moment. I'll let her choose. If she is willing, I'll let her be your assistant. Then he said with a smile, I'm relieved that my future sister-in-law can take care of her. Liang Xiao was a little shy. Have you told her about our relationship? Charlotte smiled and said, I want to give her a surprise. She has always wanted me to get married. She nagged me all day to find a girlfriend. I found her such a beautiful sister-in-law. She will be very happy. What if she doesn't like me? Liang Xiao was very worried. She felt like she was going to meet Charlotte's parents. Charlotte thought her look was very interesting. He smiled and comforted her. No, she will definitely like you. I'll tell you a secret. She likes chocolate. Liang Xiao suddenly smiled. I'll go to the supermarket right away. Charlotte said, Go and come back quickly. After I hand her over to you, I have to go to the workshop to modify Long Bing's gun. Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Guns, you men love to play with guns. Be careful, or I'll confiscate your gun. Charlotte, Liang Xiao could always bring him this kind of fun. He liked this feeling very much. Xia Shui walked around the workshop and came to Charlotte in Liang Xiao's office. She saw Charlotte talking and laughing with a woman. They seemed to be chatting intimately. This was actually the first time she saw Liang Xiao. The tall Liang Xiao made her eyes light up. Is this Sister Xia Shui? Liang Xiao had been paying attention to the door. When Xia Shui appeared at the door, she noticed it. Charlotte waved to Xia Shui. Little Shui, come here. Let me introduce you. This is Liang Xiao, Miss Liang. Xia Shui walked over and said politely, Hello, Miss Liang. Little Shui. And you look like your brother. You're so beautiful. When Liang Xiao spoke, she glared at Charlotte. Apparently, she was urging him to introduce her to Xia Shui as his sister-in-law. Charlotte smiled and said, Little Shui, you used to urge me to find you a sister-in-law. Here, the one in front of you is your future sister-in-law. Ah, Xia Shui's reaction was very strange. Liang Xiao also felt very embarrassed. Why does Xia Shui have such a reaction? I thought. Xia Shui said half a sentence and suddenly reacted. She smiled and said, Sister-in-law, you are so beautiful. My brother's really blessed. She thought it was Jiang Rui, and she always thought that Jiang Rui would be her future sister-in-law. She didn't expect that when she came back, the woman in front of her became her future sister-in-law. Liang Xiao's face also showed a smile. Little Shui, I knew you were coming. I specially prepared a lot of delicious food for you, including your favorite chocolate. Thank you, sister-in-law. Xia Shui's mouth was very obedient. Liang Xiao beamed with joy when she heard him call her sister-in-law. She looked at Xia Lei and said, Aren't you going to the studio? Why are you still here? You should go. Leave little Shui to me. I will talk to her. Charlotte got up and said, Well, then you guys talk. I'm going to the studio. Xia Shui, you follow your sister-in-law and be her assistant. She is a talented student who graduated from Harvard College in the United States. You can learn a lot of useful things by following her. Wow, sister-in-law, you are amazing. Xia Shui was very excited. Liang Xiao giggled and looked like she liked it very much. Charlotte came out of the office building and went to his studio to modify Long Bing's gun. After work in the afternoon, Liang Xiao followed Charlotte to his home. This time, she didn't let Charlotte cook, but she took the initiative to go into the kitchen to cook. Xia Shui also went to the kitchen to help. It could be seen that the future sister-in-law and sister-in-law got along very well. The two women were busy in the kitchen, and Charlotte came to the balcony. It was getting late, but the street lights hadn't been lit yet. The surrounding light was between clear and blurry. Charlotte's eyes glanced around and didn't find anything strange. Finally, his eyes moved to the road outside the wall of the community. There were cars coming and going on the road, and there were many pedestrians walking on the sidewalk. Everything was normal. Charlotte also laughed at himself. Who do I want to see? A killer or a CIA agent sent by the United States? The things that should be dealt with have been dealt with. Why am I still so nervous? After a period of thrilling days, it suddenly calmed down. Charlotte still felt a little unaccustomed. But at this moment, a black motorcycle slowly came from the other side of the road. Charlotte didn't pay much attention to the motorcycle and the rider, but the speed of the motorcycle was getting slower and slower. Finally, it stopped parallel to the balcony. The motorcycle took off the helmet on its head, revealing a head of blonde hair. When Charlotte saw her appearance clearly, he was stunned. This woman was the Russian blonde who pestered him at the Evening Primrose Cafe and made him miss tracking the mysterious man. The Russian blonde looked at Charlotte, standing on the balcony. Charlotte's first thought was to rush out, catch her, and then interrogate her about the whereabouts of the mysterious man who looked exactly like his father, Xia Changhe. But he knew very well that if he did this, it would be impossible for him to catch up with her. The other party didn't even get off the bike, and she could escape at any time. Why is she here? What does she want to do? Charlotte's mind quickly thought about this question. The Russian blonde took out a cigarette pack, and lit it. But she only took a puff before throwing it on the ground. After that, she put on her helmet, stepped on the accelerator, and disappeared into the vast night in the blink of an eye. Charlotte couldn't catch up even if he wanted to. What are you looking at? Liang Xiao appeared behind Charlotte. A very strange person. Charlotte's mind recalled the Russian blonde's action of lighting the cigarette and throwing it. He always felt very awkward and strange. Strange person? Who? Liang Xiao stood next to Charlotte and looked around. Brother, sister-in-law, it's time to eat. Xia Shui's voice was heard. Charlotte turned to the door and said, I will be back soon. Xia Shui said curiously, Brother, it's time to eat. Where are you going? Charlotte didn't speak. He opened the door and went out. What happened to my brother? Xia Shui asked Liang Xiao. I don't know. I will go and see. I will be back soon. Liang Xiao also went out the door. Charlotte ran all the way out of the gate of the community. He went around to the roadside where the Russian girl stayed and picked up the cigarette, but was still burning quietly. But he soon discovered that the cigarette holder wasn't a normal cigarette holder. There was a roll of paper in the cigarette holder. Charlotte pulled out the paper and opened it. There was a paragraph written in Chinese. See you tomorrow at 8:00 at the Yangshan Cemetery. Seeing the contents of the note, Charlotte's mind suddenly appeared the appearance of his father, Xia Changhe. He also secretly said in his heart, this woman and the mysterious man are obviously in a group. She came to meet me. Will the mysterious man appear? Liang Xiao suddenly poked her head over his shoulder. What are you looking at? Charlotte's mind was thinking about the mysterious man and the Russian girl who had just left. He didn't notice the arrival of Liang Xiao. When he discovered Liang Xiao had already seen the contents of the note. It was too late for him to cover it up. Someone asked me to meet, and you don't have to worry about this. Charlotte said. He didn't even tell Xia Shui about everything about his father, Xia Changhe. Of course, he didn't want Liang Xiao to get involved. Liang Xiao smiled. I'm not a nosy woman. Let's go. I'm here to ask you to eat. Let's go back. If we don't go back, the food will be cold. Charlotte crumpled the note and put it in his trouser pocket. Then he hugged Liang Xiao's small waist and walked to the gate of the community. Chapter 2:25. In the afternoon of the next day, Charlotte came out of the studio early in the morning. In the past 2 days, he had finished modifying the sniper rifle that Long Bing asked him to help modify. He put the parts of the domestic sniper rifle and the AS-50 sniper rifle into the engineering plastic box that Kujia brought. He didn't have the experience of using a sniper rifle, but he had extraordinary ability and confidence in the field of mechanical processing. So even if he didn't have the experience of using a sniper rifle, he was sure that the performance of the domestic sniper rifle that he had modified was much better than the imported AS-50 sniper rifle. Long Bing would certainly be satisfied. There was still a little time before he got off work. When passing by the office building, Charlotte hesitated, but in the end, he didn't go back to his office. He put the engineering plastic box into the trunk of the BMW M6 and then prepared to drive away. Liang Xiao came out of the office building and stopped Charlotte. "Where are you going?" I'm going to send the gun to Long Bing." Charlotte didn't tell the truth. She urged me several times. "Are you coming back for dinner?" Liang Xiao asked. Charlotte smiled. "Don't wait for me. You and Xiao Xue can eat together." Liang Xiao said with concern. "Drive carefully and come back early." "Well, I'm leaving." Charlotte felt a warm feeling in his heart. He got into the driver's seat. Liang Xiao went to the window, and regardless of the company's employees looking, she leaned in through the window and kissed Charlotte's lips. At that moment, Xiaolei really wanted to tell her the truth, but he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. His father, Xia Changhe, inexplicably disappeared. His profession and identity were in doubt, and there was even a possibility that he couldn't see the light of day. Before figuring out the truth, even if he believed in Liang Xiao, he couldn't tell her. "Hey, you too. When are you going to send me wedding invitations?" "I'm waiting to drink your wedding wine." Qin Xiang poked her head out of the window of his office and smiled. Only then did Liang Xiao let go of Charlotte. She glared at Qin Xiang. "I'm not inviting you." "Don't listen to her," Qin Xiang said Charlotte with a smile. "I'm sure you'll be invited to your wedding feast. I've already decided. You're the best man." Really? That's great." Qin Xiang clapped to the window and said, "Can I be the bridesmaid?" Liang Xiao had a strange expression on her face. Charlotte drove away in a flash. In the evening, Charlotte drove to the vicinity of Daong Mountain Cemetery. At this time, the cemetery was already closed. Charlotte did not think of going through the main entrance. The fewer people who knew about such a meeting, the better. If he went through the main entrance, the gatekeeper would see his face, and he might have to register or something. Therefore, he parked the car in an inconspicuous corner and then climbed over the wall to enter the cemetery. After entering the cemetery, Charlotte walked up the hill along the road paved with bluestone in the cemetery area. The cemetery area was built according to the mountain, and the tombstones stood like dominoes in the twilight. Each tombstone represented a life, condensing all the joys, sorrows, and all the stories of a person's life. With so many tombstones crowded together, the cemetery exuded a gloomy and strange atmosphere everywhere, making people feel depressed. Of all places to choose, why did you choose this place to meet? Charlotte thought so, but his pace didn't slow down at all. He kept walking to the highest point of the cemetery. During this process, his eyes also vigilantly observed the surrounding environment, looking for the figure of the Russian woman. 10 minutes later, Charlotte walked to the end of the cemetery, and in front of him was the undeveloped mountain forest. If he walked up, he could reach the top of the mountain, but such a large mountain was densely packed with trees and grass. Even if he had the ability to see through things, it was easier said than done to find a person in such a place. Charlotte looked at the watch on his hand. It was already 7:50 in the evening, and there were still 10 minutes before the agreed time to meet. He thought in his heart, "She asked me to meet. Maybe when I came in, she was secretly watching me. When the time comes, she will definitely show up. If I rashly enter the mountain forest, I may miss the meeting with her." After making up his mind, Charlotte waited in the area between the cemetery and the mountain forest. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Rustling footsteps suddenly came from the mountain forest behind Charlotte. Charlotte looked in the direction of the sound and quickly found the Russian girl. She slowly approached in the forest, looking very cautious. But she didn't know that Charlotte's eyes had penetrated a few trees and seen her clearly. When the Russian girl was about to walk out of the forest, Charlotte used his X-ray vision on her and found that she was carrying a pistol and a knife. This discovery suddenly made him nervous, and he subconsciously took a few steps back. "Don't be nervous." The Russian girl walked out of the forest and said in fluent Chinese, "I'm not your enemy." Charlotte didn't relax his vigilance. "Who are you?" The Russian girl said, "It doesn't matter who I am. You will know when it's time for you to know." Charlotte was not satisfied with such an answer. "You asked me to meet you, and I came, but you didn't show any sincerity. We don't need sincerity between us. What we need is trust." "What about him?" Charlotte looked at the mountain forest behind the Russian girl, but he didn't find the man who looked almost exactly like his father, Xia Changhe. The Russian girl said, "You don't have to look. He has more important things to do. He won't be in China during this time. He is very worried about your safety, which is why he asked me to see you." These words were like a hammer that fiercely smashed into Xia Lei's heart, causing him to feel stifled and flustered. Although the Russian girl didn't say that the man was his father, Xia Changhe, the sentence "he is very worried about your safety" was a very obvious hint. The mysterious man was his father, Xia Changhe. At this moment, Charlotte's heart was filled with all kinds of emotions: excitement, happiness, anger, confusion, and sadness. These emotions were like ropes that tied him up, making it difficult for him to breathe. "Don't blame him. He has his own difficulties," the Russian girl said. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Difficulties? What kind of difficulties can make a man abandon his family and son? You don't know how I've been through all these years. Do you know how I felt when I tore up the acceptance letter from Kyoto University? Let me tell you, it felt like I was dying. Aren't you living well now? He's proud of you." Charlotte said, "I don't need him to be proud of me. I just want to see him. I want to hear his explanation." The Russian girl said, "This day will come. Believe me, one day he will come back to you, and he will explain everything to you." Charlotte looked straight at her. "Who are you to him?" "I am his assistant." The Russian girl said, "My name is Yevgenia. That is all I can tell you." "Did you ask me to come here to help him convey his concern for me?" Yevgenia said, "Of course not. Your father asked me to tell you that the pill is very precious. You shouldn't keep it. You should take it as soon as possible." Charlotte's heart shook again. He remembered the time when his father, Xia Changhe, failed and found a Russian warning under the glass bottle: "Be careful." Now it seemed that his father, Xia Changhe, had returned home and knew that he did not take the last pill. Charlotte was silent for a while before saying, "Why do you want me to take the pill? My body is fine. I don't need to take any medicine. He is your father. You have to believe that. He will not hurt you no matter what. On the contrary, everything he does is for your own good. He asked you to take the pill, so take it. I don't know much about it, so I can't tell you more," Yevgenia said. "That's it." Charlotte was hesitant. Should he really take the pill? Yevgenia said, "There's one more thing. You are being watched. You are in danger." "Who's watching me? Why?" Charlotte was full of doubts. He naturally thought of the American spy. Yevgenia said, "It's your..." Suddenly, half of Yevgenia's chest exploded. Blood and body parts splashed all over Charlotte. Under the great impact, Yevgenia's body flew back a few steps before falling to the ground. Yevgenia was dead. She had died at the most critical moment. Charlotte suddenly fell to the ground and rolled to hide between two tombstones. His eyes quickly scanned the surroundings, but unfortunately, he could not find the assassin who killed Evgenia. The weapon the killer used was obviously a very powerful sniper rifle that could kill a target from 2 kilometers away. At such a distance, his left eye could not see through any obstacles to find the hidden sniper. He seemed to be only one step away from the truth, but it was this one step that suddenly became a natural moat that separated yin and yang, and he could no longer cross it. Charlotte's heart was filled with anger and fear. He did not know if he was also the sniper's target, so he did not dare to move. He was also thinking about the identity of the sniper, but he had no clue. The sniper's target seemed to be Evgenia, so he did not fire a second shot. The sky was getting darker. Charlotte closed his left eye and only used his right eye to look at Yevgenia, who was lying in a pool of blood. When he was sure that he could not see him clearly under normal circumstances, he carefully crawled out from the gap between two tombstones and slowly crawled to Yevgenia's side. Yevgenia was no longer breathing. The huge wound had drained all the blood in her body. There was a large pool of blood on the ground, and the air was filled with a thick smell of blood. "I'm sorry." Xiaolei's heart was filled with guilt. He reached into Evgenia's pocket and took out a purse. Then, he disappeared into the darkness with the purse. Under normal circumstances, he would have called the police or Long Bing, but Evgenia's identity was unclear and she was armed. He could not explain to the police or Long Bing why he was here, nor could he explain how Yevgenia died. Moreover, Yevgenia was his father, Xiaochang's assistant. If his father was involved, he could not face the police or Long Bing. After weighing the pros and cons, he finally made the decision to leave alone. Chapter 226. The BMW M6 stopped next to a deserted riverbank. There were a lot of grass growing on the riverbank. Their leaves were yellow and lifeless. Charlotte didn't have to worry about being discovered by anyone. Charlotte got out of the car and went into the grass. He came to the riverbank and washed the blood off his face with the river water. The river was bone-chillingly cold, and his mind became clearer. Yevgenia asked him to meet at the Daong Mountain Cemetery. Whoever knew about this was the most suspicious person. However, there was only one person who could have seen the note Yevgenia hid in the cigarette, and that was Liang Xiao. Charlotte held his head and shook it hard. He said to himself, "It can't be Xiao. It can't be Xiao. How could you do such a thing?" Long Bing used to suspect that Xiao was the spy who was lurking around me, but didn't she get rid of her suspicions about Xiao? It can't be her. It can't be her. Was Liang Xiao the person who killed Yevgenia? He didn't even want to think about it for a while, let alone believe it. He loved Liang Xiao deeply. He wanted to marry her, have a son and a daughter, and live happily ever after. He was willing to share everything with her, his money, and even Lima Manufacturing Company. Under such circumstances, how could Liang Xiao betray him? However, if it wasn't Liang Xiao, then who killed Yevgenia? Charlotte opened Yevgenia's purse. There was some Chinese currency, some Russian rubles, and US dollars in the purse. In addition to the money, there was a hotel room card and an English chip card. The front of the English chip card had the words "temporary pass" printed on it, which meant temporary pass. Charlotte turned the card over. There were two black letters E printed on the back, but he didn't know what it meant. Charlotte's left eye locked onto the letter. Everything related to E that his left eye had seen flooded into his brain. In the end, he was surprised to find out that the so-called was actually a very popular piece of video and graphic software on the internet. Why would a software that processes video and images need a temporary pass? Charlotte shook his head. Although it matched the meaning of the letters, he didn't think so. Then he changed his method. He used the ability of his left eye to recall all the English dictionaries he had read. Words that began with the letter A and the letter E appeared in his mind. Half an hour later, Charlotte gave up. There were too many English words that started with these two letters, and different combinations had different meanings. He could not solve the problem in front of him based on those words. Charlotte put away the room card and the English microchip card. Then he took off his jacket and pants and set the bag on fire. After the clothes and the bag were burned, he pushed the ashes into the river and let the water wash them away. Finally, he returned to the car, wearing only a pair of briefs and a pair of shoes. He drove back to the city. When he got home, it was almost midnight. Xia Shui was already asleep. Charlotte went straight to the TV cabinet and took away the photo frame that contained the family photo. The glass bottle was still there, and the pill was quietly lying at the bottom of the bottle. Back in the room, Charlotte sat quietly on the bed, his eyes staring at the pill in the glass bottle. There was only one question in his mind. Should he take this pill? At this moment, his phone suddenly rang. Charlotte glanced at the phone screen on the bed. The Chinese name of the caller was Housekeeper. It was a call from Liang Xiao. In the past, when Liang Xiao called, Charlotte would be very happy. But this time, he had a feeling that even he couldn't describe. It was very strange. When the phone rang for the 5th time, Charlotte picked up the phone and slid the answer button. "Hello, Xiao. It's so late. You haven't slept yet?" Liang Xiao's voice came from the phone. It was soft and very lazy. "I can't sleep without you by my side. I missed you. Did you miss me?" Charlotte said with a smile. "I was about to miss you, and then you called. You only know how to say nice things to coax me." Liang Xiao acted coquettishly and then said, "Right, did you see that person?" "I saw her," Charlotte said. The strange feeling in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. "I thought it was a woman, so I called to check on you." "It is indeed a woman," Charlotte said. "Ah." Liang Xiao was very surprised. "It is really a woman," Charlotte said. "Don't think too much. She is... Who is it?" "A friend of my father's." Liang Xiao was silent for a moment before she said, "I heard you talk about it. Isn't your father missing?" Charlotte said, "He is indeed missing. There has been no news until now." "Then what did you talk about?" Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "I'll tell you something from the past. Don't tell anyone. I'll tell you if you promise me." Liang Xiao said, "You fool. Who am I to you? I'm your woman. Your secret is my secret. Why would I tell anyone else about it? Tell me. We can analyze it together. Maybe we can find your father's whereabouts." "Okay, I'll tell you." Charlotte said, "She told me that there was a medicine that my father had given me before. When my father met her for the last time, he asked her to tell me that the medicine was in a book that my father used to read. Well, it was Journey to the West." "What medicine? Why is it so mysterious?" Liang Xiao's voice was full of concern. "Have you ever had any illness?" Charlotte said, "I used to be very weak. My father gave me that medicine, and I was fine, but I didn't know there was another one. I didn't know what medicine it was until today." "Did you find that medicine?" Liang Xiao's voice was a little excited. Charlotte said, "I found it. I'm thinking about whether I should take it or not. She asked me to take it, but I'm not sick. Why should I take medicine?" "Yes, you're not sick. Don't take medicine." Liang Xiao said, "Wait for me. I'll be right there." "It's so late. Do you want to come over? I know you're confused now. After all, it's about your father. I'll come over to accompany you. We can analyze it together. Maybe we can find your father's whereabouts," Liang Xiao said. Charlotte said, "Well, come over then. Be careful on the road." "You love me so much, honey." Liang Xiao's voice was full of joy. Then she hung up the phone. Charlotte sat on the bed, and 2 tears quietly flowed from the corners of his eyes. When he was cleaning up Evgenia's clothes on the riverbank, he didn't want to believe that Liang Xiao was the one who killed Evgenia, and he didn't want to believe that she was the mysterious American spy that Long Bing had mentioned. However, after this phone call, his trust was destroyed and his heart was broken. Only Liang Xiao knew that Evgenia had asked him to meet. She saw the contents of the note and knew the time and place. In the cemetery, when Evgenia was about to reveal her identity, she killed Evgenia. After that, she called him again to test him. In this phone call, Liang Xiao also revealed a flaw. She asked him about what he talked about with Evgenia, especially when she found out that his father, Xia Changhe, had hidden a pill. Her tone was obviously agitated. More importantly, she didn't ask about Evgenia's situation. She knew very well that Evgenia was dead. Charlotte wiped away his tears. 5 years of living in the lowest class of society had cultivated his strong character. He knew very well what he had to do, and he had to put an end to it. Charlotte got up and left the room. He took a copy of Journey to the West from his father, Xia Chang's room, and then took out an anti-inflammatory amoxicillin capsule from his medicine box. Then he opened the capsule left by his father and the amoxicillin capsule, and swapped the powder of the two. Finally, he used a knife to dig a small hole in Journey to the West and put the capsule that had been replaced with powder into the small hole. After doing all this, Charlotte specially changed into his favorite black suit and carefully tidied himself up in front of the mirror. Then he sat on the bed and stared blankly at the night sky outside the window. The color of the night sky was the color of his mood at the moment, without a trace of sunlight. Not long after, Liang Xiao arrived. She was wearing a dark gray Nike sportswear, and the soft fabric showed off her sexy curves. She was always so sexy and beautiful, easily arousing the desire of men. Walking into Charlotte's room, Liang Xiao's eyes fell on the open journey to the west on the bed. She immediately saw the capsule hidden in the small hole. Her eyes stayed on it for a full 5 seconds before turning to Charlotte. Charlotte was also very calm. "Xiao, you're here." Liang Xiao sat next to Charlotte, put her arms around his waist, and gently comforted him. "Don't worry, we will definitely find Uncle's whereabouts. It's been more than 5 years, and it's almost 6 years. He hasn't come back to see me and Xiaoxue for such a long time. How could it be so easy?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "You don't have to comfort me. I'm fine. I've actually accepted the fact that he's missing. It's good that he can come back, but if he doesn't, I can accept it." Liang Xiao said, "It's good that you can think like this. Is this the pill your father left behind?" She reached out and picked up the journey to the west on the bedside and said, "Can I see it?" Charlotte nodded. "Of course." Liang Xiao carefully took out the capsule from the small hole and held it in her hand. Her hand was a little trembling, but it was not very obvious. "Should I take it?" Charlotte asked. Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "Are you stupid? Why would you take medicine if you're not sick? Don't take medicine indiscriminately. Although it once cured your illness, it was under the premise that you were sick. Why would you take it now that you're so healthy? I'll help you throw it away, lest you think too much." She really got up to throw the pill away. Charlotte grabbed her hand. "Don't throw it away. I want to keep it as a souvenir. After all, it's something my father left to me. You're really something, taking a pill as a souvenir. Well, if you want to keep it, then keep it." Liang Xiao closed the journey to the west and put on the bedside. Then she got into Charlotte's arms and giggled. "Honey, I miss you. What should I do?" Chapter 227. The gentle voice, the soft body, all of these contain the meaning of teasing. But Charlotte did not even have the slightest reaction. His heart was broken. How could he still have the interest to do that kind of thing? "What's wrong with you today?" Liang Xiao was very sensitive. Charlotte forced a smile. "Nothing, it's just, I can't help but miss my dad." Liang Xiao did not continue to ask. She reached out and unbuttoned Charlotte's shirt, then pushed him down on the bed. "Xiao, let's rest." Charlotte was really not in the mood. Liang Xiao unzipped his zipper and said coquettishly, "I miss you." Charlotte smiled bitterly, "But I can't." "Who said you can't? You have to do it even if you can't." Liang Xiao mischievously winked at Charlotte, then buried her head. Charlotte's mouth opened wide, his brows furrowed and then relaxed. In front of Liang Xiao's superb eloquence and persuasion, Charlotte indeed had to do it, and he did it very quickly. He also slowly relaxed, no longer thinking about those things that broke his heart. He was like an ostrich, thinking that by burying his head in the sand, he could escape from reality. After half an hour, the two of them calmed down from their passion. Liang Xiao took the dirty thing to the bathroom again. She was always willing to deal with that little thing. In the past, Charlotte was never curious, but this time, he was very curious. Just after Liang Xiao entered the bathroom, his left eye slightly twitched and immediately took in the scene in the bathroom. In the bathroom, Liang Xiao, who was wearing her sportswear, took out a silver metal tube from the pocket of her clothes, put the dirty thing directly into the metal tube, then tightened the metal tube, and put the metal tube into her pocket. Charlotte was stunned by the scene. Why did she keep the thing I used before? Could it be that she's studying what's flowing out of my body? Who is she? If Liang Xiao killing of Genia was just a guess without any evidence, then Liang Xiao's strange behavior was a clear proof. How could a normal woman collect that kind of thing from a man's body? Furthermore, it was handled in such a strange manner. At that moment, Charlotte thought of the medicine his father gave him and the ability to see through things. Then, the appearance of Liang Xiao, Yevgenia's warning, and Yevgenia's death. Everything had a sequence, and there was a secret connection between them. In the bathroom, Liang Xiao squatted on the toilet, washed her hands after urinating, and left. Her expression had been very serious, but after opening the door, there was a sweet smile on her face. "Honey, let's buy a big house." Liang Xiao went to bed and snuggled into Charlotte's arms. She said, "I didn't dare to scream too loudly just now, for fear that Xiaoxua would hear me. It's not good for her, but you're so powerful, and I can't help it." Charlotte smiled and said, "Okay, buy a big house. I'll ask Tianyin later." Real estate is the main business of the Wanxiang Group. The Wanxiang Group's houses are all over the country, not to mention in Haizhu City. Many real estate buildings are owned by the Wanxiang Group. If I ask her to buy a house, she'll definitely give me a big discount. Liang Xiao pouted and said, "I don't think she'll take your money." Charlotte said, "No way. A big house is worth millions. Friends are friends, but money is definitely needed." Liang Xiao said, "We're not sure of money. Don't ask Shinda Tianyin to buy a house, okay? We'll go to another real estate company to buy a house. I don't want you to be with her again." Charlotte gently patted her butt and said, "Are you jealous?" "I'm jealous. You have to listen to me," Liang Xiao said coquettishly. Charlotte smiled and said, "Okay, whatever you say. I'll listen to you." Well, honey is the best. This was the third time Liang Xiao had called Charlotte her husband. "Go to sleep, wife." Xiaolei's heart was filled with sadness. "I'll go to sleep if you call me honey one more time," Liang Xiao said coquettishly in Charlotte's arms. Charlotte kissed her forehead and said, "Honey, go to sleep. You have to work tomorrow." "Okay." Liang Xiao closed her eyes and went to sleep. Charlotte closed his eyes, but he couldn't sleep at all. Although his eyes were closed, he could still see with his left eye. He looked at Liang Xiao quietly. Before tonight, he had loved this woman deeply and was familiar with everything about her. But now, he felt that the woman lying next to him was so strange. She was lying next to him, but he felt that there was a very, very long distance between them. Liang Xiao's breathing was even and her expression was peaceful. She looked like she was sleeping soundly. But in Charlotte's eyes, her heartbeat did not slow down. It still kept beating about 90 times per minute. This was not the heartbeat of a person who was asleep. She had been awake the whole time. 2 hours later, Liang Xiao leaned against Charlotte with her elbow. Charlotte did not respond. He slowed down his breathing and pretended to be asleep. Liang Xiao reached out from under the blanket and picked up the Journey to the West on the bedside table. She opened the Journey to the West and took out the pill. Then, she took out an identical pill from her pocket and put it in the small hole in the Journey to the West. She really came for the pill left by her father, Xia Changhe. Charlotte secretly said in his heart. It seems that she prepared the replacement pill in advance. I have never shown her this pill, but she can take out an identical one. This means that she knows about the existence of this pill and has seen it before. What was the price of this pill that was worth the risk of her identity being exposed? Where did this pill come from? Liang Xiao retracted her hand and turned over, pressing one of her legs on Charlotte's leg. She's testing me? This thought flashed through Charlotte's mind. He followed with an N and then turned in the opposite direction. Liang Xiao's long leg on his body also fell down. Liang Xiao did not make any more movements. She just lay there quietly. After 10 minutes, Charlotte turned over again and faced his side to Liang Xiao. He found that her heart rate was still around 90 beats. She was not asleep at all. Charlotte secretly said in his heart, "She is always on guard against me waking up and finding out that she has secretly swapped the pill, right? She is so vigilant, which means that the pill is extremely important to her. The real pill is still in my hands. Should I eat it?" The following time was quite difficult. Neither of the two people lying on the bed was truly asleep. Liang Xiao was waiting for dawn to come and leave with the pill. Charlotte was also hesitating. He was considering whether he should tell her the truth or not. Things had already developed to this point. Charlotte could not accept a woman who schemed against him. However, even so, he could not make a simple decision to tell her the truth. Thinking back to the sweet time they had together, she was, after all, the woman he loved deeply. Just like that, dawn finally arrived. Liang Xiao pushed Charlotte, who was beside her. "Darling, it's dawn. I'll go make breakfast. You should get up. Charlotte opened his eyes, looking a little sleepy. My back is so sore. I want to lie down again. Liang Xiao poked Charlotte with her finger. Who told you to be so greedy? Do you know that your back is sore? But it's okay. I'll buy you some supplements today. You'll be fine. And Xiao Lei closed his eyes again, looking like he was going to sleep. You lazy pig, I don't care. I'm going to make breakfast. Liang Xiao put on her clothes and went out of the room. Charlotte lay in the room for 2 minutes. In his left eye, he was monitoring Liang Xiao's every move. Liang Xiao did not go to the kitchen. Instead, she set up her phone at the door of the kitchen. She quickly set up her phone and then returned to Charlotte's room. My lazy pig, what do you want to eat? Liang Xiao said, porridge or what? Porridge. Charlotte looked sleepy. Don't disturb me. Let me sleep for a while. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. Liang Xiao's cell phone suddenly rang. She took out her cell phone and answered the call. Then she said, Dad, what's the matter? Help you pick up a friend's plane? Okay, I'll go right away. After hanging up the phone, Liang Xiao said to Charlotte, My dear, my dad asked me to pick up a friend's plane. I will make breakfast for you. I'm in a hurry. I'm leaving. Charlotte answered vaguely and continued to sleep. Liang Xiao didn't say much. She turned around and left. As soon as Liang Xiao went out, Charlotte got up from the bed, quickly put on his clothes, and then went out. Liang Xiao had already driven her red BMW M6 out of the gate of the community and then drove to the road on the right. Charlotte walked quickly to his black BMW M6. Hey, Zhang Rui's voice suddenly came. Did you guys quarrel? Charlotte turned around and saw Jiang Rui drinking a cup of milk tea in her old red polo car parked on the balcony. His heart skipped a beat and he walked over. Rui, lend me your car. If he drove the black BMW M6 to follow Liang Xiao, she would easily find out. Jiang Rui smiled and said, Last time you borrowed my car, it was almost destroyed. You want to borrow it again this time? I won't lend it to you. It's useless for you to chase after her. You're not suitable at all. She's gone. She's not the only woman in this world. Charlotte said anxiously, I don't have time to explain to you. Lend it to me. Hurry up. Sister. It's useless to call me sister. I won't lend it to you. Jiang Rui drank a mouthful of milk tea happily. She deliberately wanted to anger Charlotte to death. Charlotte threw the key of the BMW M6 to Jiang Rui. Can I exchange it with you? Jiang Rui blinked her eyes. How long do you want to exchange? Until it's scrapped. Is that okay? Charlotte was very anxious. Deal. Jiang Rui took the key and threw it to Charlotte. Charlotte drove Jiang Rui's polo car out of the door. Jiang Rui stuck out her tongue and took a sip of milk tea on her lips. She said to herself, could it be that Liang Xiao stole Lei Zi's money and ran away? I know that woman is a liar. Haha, it's good that she stole it. Only when you are fooled will you know that the police are good. Well, the director is even better. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.